So, good afternoon and welcome to session 2 of the 2019 Glasgow International Swim Meet. I'm Stuart Johnson. I'm joined here by Tom Scally. Thomas Scally, call him what you want.
Afternoon, Stuart.
How are we doing? Good, thank you. Yourself?
Great first session, yeah. Some fantastic swims. Really exciting stuff in the water, especially from Ross Murdoch. I can't wait to see how he's going to top that off later in the finals tonight.
Yeah, it was good to see some of the Team GB stars, wasn't it, back in Glasgow again. Obviously they were up here a couple of weeks ago, but it's good to see them back again and doing their stuff in the pool again.
That's it, they were here for British Champs, they'll probably be back for Summer Champs and then Euro Short Course in December, so this really is one of their sort of home pools, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, obviously a lot of them training in Scotland now as well. University of Stirling have a big team, University of Edinburgh as well. So a lot of the top swimmers now using Scotland as their training base, their home club if you want. So might see for the next Commonwealth Games if we can maybe adopt a couple of them. I don't know if that's against some sort of rules.
I hope so.
Obviously, yeah, we've had some great swims. So we do have the same swims coming up this afternoon. Obviously different swimmers. We're not harsh enough to make them swim twice, session after the other. So we will be looking at some of the same events this afternoon, but obviously we are looking at some of the younger age group swimmers, and that gives them an opportunity to show where they are. Obviously it's slightly different for an age group swimmer than it is to a senior swimmer.
Exactly, and those age group swimmers, it'll be really interesting to see if they can actually slip into one of those B finals tonight. And they've also got the junior final, which will feature later on as well. So it'll be interesting to see just how they compare time-wise to some of the other heats this morning.
Yeah, obviously pool looking excellent. Technical officials just behind us there just starting to come on, so obviously a big thank you to our sponsors Glasgow, Audi, Scots and Dean's Pharmacy. This meet wouldn't happen without them, so excellent to have them here and supporting us. Technical officials are coming on to the pool side, so we will be back with your announcing team of Duncan McKinnell and Derek McGowan just after these short adverts.
So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are right ready to go. You catch us just in time for the first heat of the women's 200 individual medley here at Tollcross International Swimming Centre. I'm Duncan McKinnell and joined in the box today by Derek McGowan. Good afternoon, Derek.
Afternoon, Duncan.
So 200 IM is first to get us going today. These are the slower heats. We had the fastest 5 heats this morning. So the task, I guess, is for these swimmers to really swim something special and get themselves into a final tonight. The lineup for this first one: Amelie Fenton of City of Sheffield in 0, Zara Cowan of First in 1, Molly Cannon of Inverclyde in 2, then it's Leah Hughes of City of Glasgow, Anna Williamson of Ren 96, Jenna Cole of Bells Hill, then we have Michelle Mortensen from the Danish junior team, Polly Reid of Newcastle, Ailish Segal of East Lothian and Amber Stevenson of South Ayrshire. Good start there in lane 7 from the Newcastle swimmer Polly Reid. She's got the clear advantage here. Polly, 16-year-old, into 2:35.42, and she's looking pretty good here, Derek.
Yeah, she is. She's got a really nice turnover on backstroke and trying to make the most of that to gain a lead before that crucial breaststroke leg.
1:10.47 for her at halfway, so she leads by some 3 seconds. Looks like it was Amber Stevenson in lane 9, so at the bottom of your screen in the blue cap, who is in fact coming up pretty nicely here in the breaststroke. So she is going to put Polly under a little bit of pressure perhaps here in the second half of this race. These two have quite a gap over Ailish Segal in lane 8 and over in lane 5 Jenna Cole in the red cap for Bells Hill, and then up in lane 2 Molly Cannon, but they're really vying for third place. It's a battle here between Polly, who has led and is still leading as we come up towards the end of the breaststroke, and Amber, in lane 9. 157.75, a lead of over a second and a half still. So you often see that the breaststroke things change a bit, but it looks like Polly was pretty solid there in holding on to that lead in the breaststroke.
Yeah, I think Polly's determined to try and squeeze into one of these finals tonight, because just really taking it on. That's got to be the main aim really for any of these afternoon heats, is to see if you can find a spot for later on this evening.
I could tell you you'd have to make something like a 2:30 to get into that junior final. She's just outside that, but well, you have to be happy with that 2:32.90 coming in on a 2:35.42. So 2.5 second improvement. Of course, that's also a big important factor. We're in the window for the summer meets, and they'll of course be vying for the British Summer Championships back up here, and the English Summer Meet also, which will be in Sheffield this year again. So Polly will be looking to get into one of those. 2:32.90 there confirmed as her winning time. So good start with the first heat. We move on to heat 2. There's the lineup. All 10 lanes in use. Maria Cabrelli goes for Dundee City Aquatics in 0. Then it's Alana MacDonald from the Borough of Stockton. Kiana Bellotti of Warrender in 2. Sophie Huggan of Cockermouth in 3, Rebecca Braid of Carnegie in 4, Jessica Heaps of West Lothian in 5, Coco Sowden from the Borough of Stockton in 6, Ella Stevenson of Bellshill Sharks in 7, Seren Williams of Borough of Stockton in 8, Stockton well represented in this heat, and Summer Innes for West Lothian in lane 9. 32.57 the split at the end of the fly. Sophie Huggan from Cockermouth leads the way. So she's in the yellow cap in lane 3, just above the yellow lanes. Looking good over on the far side, Maria Cabrelli and Alana MacDonald, but it's all pretty competitive, this one. In a tight race like this, how aware will they be of each other and where their standings are?
I think as we come to the end of that backstroke leg, they'll just be focusing on their stroke rate to make sure, but then just as they're going in through the turn, some doing the touch, some doing the crossover, just depends how quick a turn, they'll try and get that little glance, that little look without affecting their stroke or technique too much, just to find roughly where they are to push on in the breaststroke leg.
And certainly pushing on now in lane 8 is Seren Williams. They're second from the bottom of your screen, and she is having a super breaststroke leg, really pushing it on here. The Stockton 15-year-old, 2:34.30 her entry time. Also having a good breaststroke is the Cockermouth swimmer Sophie Huggan. She's been there or thereabouts all the way through this race. Is she going to be in the lead? It's going to be pretty tight at the 150. It is Sophie by about 3/10, 157.44. Slightly faster than the first heat, but not much. Cockermouth, for a small club in a relatively small town, just produced great swimmer after great swimmer. But I think maybe it is Seren looking the stronger in the freestyle in lane 8. So Stockton versus Cockermouth, northeast versus northwest. A late push in lane 6 from Coco Sowden, also from Stockton. So it's going to be a Stockton 1-2 with Seren taking the touch, 2:33.44. Another one comfortably inside her entry time. Second was Alana. Well, let's just check that. Second was Ella Stevenson, was it? No, Coco Sowden, that was right first time. Then Rebecca Braid. All fairly close there.
Yeah, the main focus for a lot of these youngsters, as we said, with the summer meets coming up, will be trying to improve on those entry times, improving their ranking, because this being the last weekend of the window before it closes on, I think it's Monday or Tuesday it closes when all the results have to be submitted. So they'll be looking just to try and make those small improvements, or big improvements if possible, to make sure they qualify.
Yep, big improvements would be good. Olivia Mason goes in lane 0 in heat 3 for Warrender. Alyssa McElroy of Southport in 1. Elle Sutherland, South Aberdeenshire in 2. Kristen Russell of East Lothian in 3. Rachel Grant of North Ayrshire in 4. Alice Knighter first in 5, Catherine Bailey of Perth City in 6, Sophie Hall of Warrender in 7, Isabel Wood of Stirling Swim in 8, and Jasmine Campbell going for Newcastle in lane 9. Catherine Bailey of Perth, very much a fly specialist, so no great surprise that she was leading down the first 50. Another 15-year-old up there with her, Rachel Grant. So the Scots looking strong in this third heat. Really not a lot between those two. And tight for third, about a body length back. There's about 5 of them really in a line. Looks like it's the red cap of Catherine Bailey still just in the lead as we come to halfway. 1:10.72s. So round about 38.5 split for the backstroke. Into breaststroke now.
Yeah, and we're looking for that, trying to get the stroke rate high enough on a 200 IM compared to that longer, smoother stroke we would see in a 400 IM. So you can see that from Catherine Bailey there at the front, and Rachel Grant as well. They're putting a good stroke rate to there, just to be able to push on in that breaststroke leg, because that can certainly make the difference.
So do you basically treat it as 4 back-to-back 50 sprints?
That's the way I like to think about it. But yeah, sometimes you've got to be a little tactical, maybe use the legs a little less on backstroke than you normally would, say on a 50 back sprint, so that you can make sure that you've got enough in breaststroke, with obviously your kick being the dominant part of a breaststroke.
So it was only 100th in it at the 150 turn, but it looks like Catherine has the upper hand in the freestyle, and she is pulling away now. So this has been a very solid swim from the Perth girl. 2:31.80 her entry time, so we're going to see a good chunky improvement on this one. You see the clock just coming up towards the 2:30 mark as she comes down towards the wall, and she's about a second inside her entry time. So 2:30.97 is the fastest time. She's just outside the time she needed for a place in the junior final. That was a 2:30.82, so close to that. So a good swim from Catherine. Of course, if there is a withdrawal, you never know. She would certainly be in the reserve positions there, so keep her fingers crossed for her. One more heat to go though, and of course that could change everything.
Yeah, I think some of these girls going into this final heat will be looking at that 2:30.8 to try and just squeeze themselves in.
So this is the final heat of the women's 200 IM. The line-up here: Jess Smith goes for Wigan Best in 0, then Alexandra Murray of Warrender in 1, Grace Conroy of City of Sheffield in 2, Zoe MacDonald of the University of Stirling in 3, Elise McQueenie of City of Glasgow in 4, Millie Milne of Warrender in 5, Jacqueline McMillan of Carnegie in 6, Flora Nichols of Warrender in 7, Madison Turner of Skipton in 8, and Hannah Pettener of Wirral Metro in lane 9. 13.98, so that is faster than the previous heat by about 7 tenths, and it is lane 3 Zoe McDonald. Now she's a senior swimmer, so she'd have to do a faster time. 2:27 she would require to get a second swim. Experienced swimmer, not seen too much of her in the last year or so, but had a very good age group career. Moving up on her now, the Youth Development Squad member Elise McQueenie, and Madison Turner going well in lane 8. So they're the top 3. Madison getting the touch, 1:08.84.
Yeah, and just interesting watching those turns there. Madison getting the crossover turn, touching roughly at the same time as Elise McQueenie, who just did the hand touch turn. So it's interesting for anyone that's watching out there to see the difference that being able to learn and refine those skills can make.
So would you definitely prefer them to do the crossover turn, or is just depending on their own?
Yeah, once they've learned it. It's pretty difficult to learn, but once you've got it, then you've got to perfect it. Try and use it in some of those smaller competitions first. And if it goes wrong and you get a DQ, then you've kind of got to take it. But I wouldn't risk it for the first time here, unless you're pretty confident that you know it's going to go well. But then taking it on and eventually then producing it at some of these meets and beyond.
So Zoe McDonald just edged into the lead at the touch there, going into the freestyle, but it looks like maybe Grace Conroy, the Sheffield swimmer, now has got the edge in lane 2. She did her entry time in this pool at last year's Scottish National Championship. She's coming under pressure though from Zoe. These two coming in very tight together. Who's going to get the touch? So close. Well, no time coming up on our board for Elise McQueenie, but I think she might have just nicked that.
Yeah, I thought Elise got the touch as well.
So we do need to wait for confirmation of that. At the moment it's showing 1/100th of a second, in fact 2:28.68 for Elise.
Pretty certain both of them will get into the junior final with that though, when they're looking at 2:30.8. So some really good swimming there actually. There's a handful of swimmers there in that final heat that will be pushing for that junior final and maybe just sneak in all 4 of them.
Yeah, so I think we can be confident about Elise. I think we can be pretty confident
Yeah.
for Grace as well. After that, well, they're in the mix. So good start, that girls 200 IM. Now it's the boys' turn to do the same. We've got 6 heats for the boys. See this, all the time scrolling through for you there. There's the top 10 from this afternoon. So we have 7 swimmers going in this first heat of men's 200 medley. Ewan Pate of Finns in 1. Jacob Scott for Wigan Best in 2. Joshua Mitchell of Warrender in 3. Oleg Smith of First in 4. Owen Carroll of Perth City in 5. Finn Longmore of East Cavan in 6. And Finn Hurd of South Aberdeenshire in lane 7. 29.03, Joshua Mitchell setting the pace. The Warrender swimmer starting well in 3. Another red cap. Perth's Owen Carroll is moving up nicely in lane 5, and I think he might have the lead now.
Yeah, Owen's putting a really, really nice backstroke in here, getting a really high tempo and high stroke rate, and you can see him coming through the field there from. So again, that's maybe the tactical thing. He maybe takes a little bit off fly because he really has got to work his backstroke. So we'll see how he goes on breaststroke as well.
106.80, the time at the turn. Finn Longmore put in a nice turn there, and also coming strongly back into the picture, Joshua Mitchell now. Keep your eye on Jacob Scott as well in lane 2. So it looks like we've found the bête noire for Owen now in the breaststroke, as they're all going well at him or past him, and in particular Joshua Mitchell is pulling away very strongly here.
Yeah, I was saying that in the girls' events, breaststroke can really make the difference in a 200 IM, and that's been a lovely breaststroke from Joshua Mitchell, putting really good tempo to it, but as well holding the length, and he looks to have a really strong second 100 here because coming off the ball really well on freestyle as well. So again, it's tactically playing about to see and using your own strokes to your own strengths, to then go and apply those tactics to the race.
So this is a pretty dominant second half, as you said, Derek, and it's going to reap a nice reward for Josh. 2:28.20 is his entry time. He's going to absolutely smash that. 2:22.33. Well, we talked about small improvements and big improvements. That's definitely in the latter category there. 6 seconds.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure he'll be superbly delighted with that. But again, he's put a real commitment to that, especially in that second half of the race. He just really attacked it and took it on.
Confirmation of that result. Jacob Scott second, Finn Longmore third, as we move on to heat number 2.
Does he want any more cables? Yeah, does he want any
So
more
an
cables?
empty lane in lane 7 in this one. So 9 swimmers go. Charles Kelly goes for Southport in 0. Tiela Walters of Dundee City Aquatics in 1. Alex Campbell of City of Manchester in 2, Jamie Claxon of Hearts in 3, Kerr Lumsden of Monteith in 4, Andrew Sutherland of North Ayrshire in 5, Bartek Gaki of East Lothian in 6, Scott Muirden of Hearts in 8, and Samuel Tate of Morpeth in lane 9. Up to the first turn, and it's 29.57, Kerr Lumsden leading them through it. That's the fastest entry time, 2:25.63. Actually did a 2:25.0 in Dundee a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's a pretty close heat here. So we're looking at probably around about five of those boys being pretty close on backstroke. So again, this turn will be crucial to see who can get round the wall quickly and then get on that slower of the 4 strokes on breaststroke and make the most of it.
So 1:06.56. So nearly 2 seconds in hand going into the breaststroke for Kerr. Lanes 6 maybe, Bartek Gaki. He's second. Up in lane 1, Taylor Walters of Dundee in the pink cap is not too far away. Neither is Andrew Sutherland in the white cap for North Ayrshire, but still leading the way, Kerr Lumsden, Monteith, and he's looking pretty good for this, I would think. He's certainly at least held his lead in the breaststroke, if not increased it slightly. 1:49.28 for him. He's now about 2.6, 2.7 up on the rest. Bartek Gaki turning second in the black cap of East Lothian. He's still being challenged by Taylor Walters in lane 1. Can these two make an impact on Kerr in the freestyle? They are closing him down somewhat. This is getting tighter now, but looks like Kerr's just about got enough in hand, and he needed that big advantage that he had going into the freestyle because they were coming at him hard at the end. At 2:24.14, that was faster than he did in Dundee, so more progress for Kerr. Entered 2:25.6, then 2:25.0, now 2:24.1, so that's good steady progression.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, even if you're not going to make some of those finals in the evening sessions here, you just want to try and make some sort of progress as you go through the window, because as we know, when you set some of these times early at Scottish national age groups and so on, it can sometimes be difficult to go and replicate that or go quicker within the window. So being able to progress there, you were saying at Dundee a few weeks ago, and then progress again today, is shown some good training blocks that have been done there.
Yes, they'll be happy with that up on the Tayside area, Monteith. Again, we've got an empty lane coming up in Heat 3. This time it's lane 9 that's missing. So 9 will go. We've got Jack Brown of Hearts at the top of your screen in lane 0, then Cameron Alexander of Inverleith in 1, Louis Lawler, the para swimmer for City of Glasgow in 2, Ewan Gumbrell of City of Glasgow in 3, William Ellis of Borough of Stockton in 4, Lucas Grieve of First in 5, Archie Dixon of City of Glasgow in 6, Findlay Bailey, Dundee City Aquatics in 7, and Douglas Calder of First in lane 8. And Louis Lawler is really pushing this one out. S14 swimmer, or SM14 technically, and a medley swim, 29.08, half a second faster than the previous heat. Louis is certainly one of our big para prospects in Scotland at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Louis qualified for the World Para Champs this summer, so it'll be really good to see him compete there, especially at his young age at the moment, to go and gain that experience. That'll be vital for the future if he's looking at Paralympic Games and so on.
But William Ellis has had a superb backstroke, and he is now well clear, absolutely turning this one on its head in that second 50. Goes through 1:03.52, which is about 3 seconds faster than the previous heat for the 16-year-old from Stockton, into 2:23. See if anybody can come back at him in the breaststroke. Looking pretty strong in lane 6 is City of Glasgow's Archie Dixon, and beside him, maybe just ahead of him, the first swimmer, Lucas Grieve. But, well, still it is William in the silver cap in lane 4, and then Louis in lane 2 towards the top of your screen. 1 and 2. Also making a bit of a move now in lane 7 as well. Finlay Bailey of Dundee City Aquatics. Well, Louis Lawler now has taken the lead. So good breaststroke from him, showing good all-round skills. It's very fine butterfly. Then a good breaststroke, and we know he's strong on freestyle, so I don't think they're going to catch him now. William Ellis holding off the 2 blue caps of Ewan Gumbrell and Lucas Grieve. Or is he holding them off? They're coming at him, but no problem for Louis. This is an excellent swim. Bit of a wobble in the backstroke, but other than that, absolutely superb. 2:19.83. Entered 2:24. He did a 2:22 at the British Para International. That was another really good improvement there.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, you can never be too sure when you're watching some of the strokes from stroke to stroke on a medley, because Louis, although you might look and say he didn't have a great backstroke leg, he might need to take a little bit off that to go and work the breasting free like the way he did and come through really strong. So we don't know what tactics they're going out there with, but certainly they're just going to try and maximise every stroke that they can.
And certainly I would feel that they'll be very happy with the end result of that one. On now to Heat 4. Keir Buchanan goes for East Kilbride in 0. Then in lane 1, it's Max Upton of Billingham. Liam Eccleston of Dumfries in 2. David Kernahan of Warrender in 3. Oliver Lill, Borough of Stockton in 4. Struan Kingdom of Ren 96 in 5. Arthur Llewellyn, Borough of Stockton in 6. Liam Murphy of First in 7. Owen Ray of Warrender in 8. And Travis Davey, Dundee City Aquatics in lane 9. Oliver Lill just had the lead at the turn into backstroke, but coming up now, Liam Eccleston in lane 2. This one much tighter, Derek.
Yeah, as we're seeing 5 or 6, even those when the outer lanes are having a go here. It's the kind of, with this being the last heat, we've got the last shot of getting anyone into those junior finals or even senior finals. It'll be tough, really tough to make the senior finals, but based on what Louis did in the last heat, to go 2:18.9, they'll be looking at and hoping that they can make it.
Yeah, so for the men it's 17 and under for the juniors, and all these swimmers are in that category. So see if anybody can get close to it. Still looking pretty good, Liam Eccleston, but pushing on. Oliver Lill may just have got the lead back. The early leader has it back again, 1:47.70, half a second faster than the previous heat. So this is going to be a good tussle between these two down the stretch here. Liam in the white cap looks like he's just got the edge now. He'll be looking to bring this home. 2:22.9 his entry time, and he has certainly got the strength in this last 50 metres just to make sure of it now. Oliver Lill is going to have to settle for second. There's a great race going on for third, but it is Liam in 2:21 dead. So good solid swim. It's interesting there, he was half a second faster than Louis Lawler's split at the 150, but over a second behind Louis' time, so there was a 1.5 second differential in Louis' freestyle, and that looked not a bad freestyle from Liam there.
Yeah, it did. It looked a really strong 50 from Liam, but again, that probably goes back a wee bit to what we know of Louis and his freestyle. He's got a really strong 100 freestyle, so it's then taking that and putting it into the medley, which, although Liam looking strong, Louis certainly made the most of it, being in that heat.
But that was a nearly 2 second PB for Liam Eccleston, so certainly can't take that away from him. Very good stuff from him. On to Heat 5 out of the 6 now. And in this one we've got Daniel Murray of Western Bartonshire in 0, Finlay Wallace of Arbroath St Thomas in 1, Cole Hewitt of City of Sheffield in 2, Ben Ferguson of South Aberdeenshire in 3, Patrick Shimmin of Newcastle in 4, his near neighbour Tom Brummel of Chesterley Street in 5, Max Hagan of City of Glasgow in 6, 7 is Rory McKinnon of Margay and Bearsden, Jack Milne Dundee City Aquatics in 8, and David Smith of Aberdeen Dolphin in lane 9. So there was a very fast fly lead off here from Cole Hewitt. City of Sheffield swimmer really pushing this one out. 2:20 entry time for him.
Yeah, we're now getting into that zone in the heats where the entry times are starting to get inside. We're nearly at that point where the entry times are inside what the time for the junior final will be at 2:18. So just those small drops from some of these boys might squeeze them into that junior final, if they're of age, that is.
And they would give them confidence, wouldn't it? Because they'd say, I know I can do this.
Yeah.
I've got a target, so it's really something to push on for. And certainly Cole is doing exactly that, 17-year-old, so he does qualify as a junior. And he's looking very solid across, 3 strokes so far.
Yeah, and I'm pretty certain that all of these juniors will be looking at that time from this morning and be mindful of what they need to do to get in. And as you say, probably taking a bit of confidence knowing that they're pretty close and it's just those small drops that can get them in. Cole's certainly doing a terrific job at the moment, trying to challenge to get himself in.
Yeah, I think you put money on him making it at this stage. He's well clear of the contest for second. Max Hagan now is looking good for second place, but he's quite a bit behind Cole, who comes in just to keep your eye on the clock, 2:14.92. So that is good stuff from him. So he's comfortably into that junior slot. He had to get under 2:18.9, so he's well under that. Just looking behind him, Max Hagan 2:18.51. So, well, we'll need to wait and see on him.
I don't think Max is a junior there though, so I'm just looking at Rory McKinnon's time afterwards, which I think is inside as well. So it all depends on what all these points are from this morning, on whether you become getting in, because obviously Cole will get in, and whether that squeezes you just the first reserve for that junior final or not.
Yep, good point there around Max. He's 18, so he would have had to get a 2:13, so that was a bridge too far. Final heat coming up, and in this final heat we've got Ryan Duncan of Arbroath St Thomas in 0, Alex Beveridge of University of Aberdeen in 1, Jack Iverson of Cockermouth in 2, James Petner of Wirral Metro in 3, Ryan Zhao of Newcastle in 4, Thomas Coates, West Lothian in 5, Sean Craig Mile of East Lothian in 6, Felix Hale of Inverleith in 7, Ben Smith of Wigan Best in 8, and Rory Young of Heart of Midlothian in lane 9. 29.08, so that is not as fast as that very fast fly that we saw from Cole in the previous heat. Ryan Shaw in lane 4. 2:16 entry time. 15-year-old, so he will certainly fancy his chances as well to get a swim tonight. This is a tighter one though. There's plenty of other swimmers in the mix with Ryan. He's got less than a metre's advantage as they come up to halfway. Going through that 1:04.44, so 2 seconds back on Cole's split. But as soon as you went into the breaststroke, it looked like Ryan really starting now to turn it up. So I think we've seen his strong spot, although, well, they're still knocking on his door in the yellow cap. Jack Iverson is going very nicely up in lane 2.
Yeah, these two boys have actually just really taken it on in breaststroke, because we've seen the field was pretty much throw a blanket over them at the 100-metre mark. But those two have just really pushed it on and taken it on and trying to get themselves into that final tonight.
It's interesting, they were 2 seconds behind Cole's split at the 100, but a second ahead at the 150, so it just shows what a quality breaststroke that was from Ryan and from Jack for that matter. These two now well clear. Jack Iverson from Cockermouth is an 18-year-old, so he doesn't qualify as a junior, but Ryan certainly does, and he is going to take this, and I'm sure with that time 2:15.14 we'll be seeing him in the junior final tonight. Second place 2:17.15 for Jack.
Yeah, just thinking back to that 100 turn when Ryan came out on breaststroke, he had just taken such a gap on the rest of the field, just round the wall in his underwater phase. So we obviously knew he was going to come with a good breaststroke split there if you compare it to the previous heat with Cole Hewitt. But again, he's had the freestyle leg to be able to back it up.
Yep, so reflections generally on those IMs from the girls and the boys?
Yeah, again, it's good to see a lot of, although these younger swimmers might not necessarily make these finals, there's a lot of swimmers who are coming in and beating those entry times. Yeah, granted, from when they were entered, they might have went quicker in other meets in the last few weeks, or maybe the last 3 or 4 weeks since the entry closed. But certainly we're seeing improvements on those entry times, which can only be positive steps for all the swimmers for the Summer Championships.
So scrolling through all the results from that, hopefully you were able to catch your favourite swimmer through that scrolling. Cole Hewitt 2:14.92, top of the tree. 100 butterfly is next, girls back, and we've got 7 heats. 6 swimmers rostered to go, and they're all present and correct now on the blocks. And those 6 swimmers are Zoe McGinley of Ren 96 in lane 2, Melissa Mainwaring of West Lothian in 3, Charlotte Holden of Barnet Copthall in 4, Lindsay Cameron of Dumfries in 5, Emma Creaney of Cumbernauld in 6, and Charlotte Thompson of Midlothian in lane 7. Interims 1:13s to 1:14.0. All juniors, as you would expect. In fact, some of them, just a couple of them, just 12 years old. So what an experience to be swimming in an international meet age 12.
Oh yeah, definitely, and that's only been 12 at the end of the year, so we don't actually know their dates of birth within this, so they could potentially be 11 as well.
So leading the way, Lindsay Cameron, the Dumfries swimmer. Just ahead of lane 3, Melissa Mainwaring of West Lothian. So these two look like they're going to be the 2 contenders here. And there's not much in it here. In fact, Melissa, I think, is coming through. And very strong in that last 10 metres. Takes the win in 1:13.25. So she takes over half a second off her entry time. Second place, Lindsay Cameron, 1:13.65. And third, Charlotte Holden, 1:14.78. Is your confirmed result now. So Melissa taking the first heat. On to heat number 2. All 10 lanes in use in this one. Paula McInnes of Hearts goes in 0. Return for Polly Reid, her second swim of the afternoon. For Newcastle in 1, Heidi Wren of City of Glasgow in 2, Lucia Bivar Segurado of East Lothian in 3, then we've got 3 Warrender swimmers, Rebecca Ivans in 4, Francesca Kane in 5, Yasmin Ali in 6, Lauren McGee from Argyll and Bearsden in 7, Emma Freeborn of West Lothian in 8, and Erin Hughes of Bells Hill in lane 9. Up to the turn, and it's one of that Warrender trio leading the way. Francesca Kane, 30.62. Enters 112s and 113s, these girls. Always amazes me when you get these really tight entry times, but when you look in the pool, they're all over the place, aren't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's it just depends how some people approach these meets. Some people get a bit nervous and can swim slower if they don't get the right draw and they end up in an outside lane, and some people just really thrive in this environment as well.
And certainly in that latter category is Francesca Kane. She was dominant here, 108.60. Well, good job from Francesca there. Entered on 1:12.90, so absolutely murdering her entry time there. And a big win from Polly Reid. So a second good swim from Polly this afternoon. Well done to her.
Yeah, you take that from Francesca there to take over 4 seconds off in 100. That's a really good chunk. I'm sure she'll be absolutely delighted with that.
Yep, so look at their faces as they rest on the lane ropes and give nothing away, most of them. Sometimes you see broad grins and slapping the water and all that, but not this time. Felt them obviously some slight technical delay here because they're being asked to clear the water, which they wouldn't normally do. So hopefully we'll be away quickly with heat number 3. See whether that result's confirmed. We don't actually have a confirmed result from that last heat yet, so we'll just wait confirmation of that one. So what is it with a swimmer when they're suddenly able to make that jump? Is it just that they've rested a little bit perhaps, or that they've just found something in their technique, then something's starting to click and all of a sudden it's sort of, there's this step change?
Yeah, sometimes it can just be as well that self-confidence and that bit of belief that then is built over time, whether that's something that's changed in training or something that's clicked at another meet before coming here. But similarly, it depends. We've had quite an opportunity to swim at Tollcross recently, but for some people getting to Tollcross and swimming in this environment just makes them up their game as well.
Well, we are now ready to go, so that I think must have been a confirmed result from that heat 2. So here is heat 3 on the blocks ready to go. The line-up: Liberty Blair of Stirling in 0, Leah Stark of North Ayrshire in 1, Elspeth Roper of East Lothian in 2, Daisy Poole goes in 3 for Wigan Best, Maria Cabrelli of Dundee City Aquatics in 4, Saren Williams, her second swim, going for Borough Stockton in 5, Katie Campbell of Aberdeen Dolphin in 6, Naomi Folds of City of Glasgow in 7, Emma Finlay of East Lothian in 8, and Rachel McLeod of Warrender in 9. So can anybody match what we saw from Francesca in that last heat? Certainly looks a lot tighter at the turn, and it's not as fast. 32.54. Saren Williams leading the way at the turn in lane 5, but up there with her in lane 3 is Daisy Poole. So it's Stockton versus Wigan at the moment. And also coming up, North Ayrshire's Leah Stark, and beside her Elspeth Roper of East Lothian, but still it is Daisy and Saren. Saren, I think, just has the edge. Late push from Rachel McLeod at the bottom of your screen, but it will be Saren Williams getting the touch. 1:11.20. Rachel came in through very strongly in those last few metres to grab second. 1:11.72 ahead of Daisy Poole. 1:12.06. So Saren there. Another good swim from her, 10th inside her entry time.
Again, it just shows you some people may have raced recently for some of their entry times, and some may have been up to 6 months, 8 months ago. So those drops can sometimes come because you've just not done a best in a while, and you've maybe had a slight injury or a niggle or something. So it can take time to develop. So some we will see that will drop a 10th like the last heat, and others that we'll see. We had that one from Francesca Kane earlier that's dropping 4 seconds. So yeah, we'll just see how these other heats go.
So in heat 4 we've got Leah Hughes, City of Glasgow in 0, Laura Frizzell of Best in 1, Eve Mayer of South Ayrshire in 2, and 2 Hearts girls, Kate Carruthers in 3, Holly Lumsden in 4, Sophie Hall of Warrender in 5, Amy Ash of East Kilbride in 6, Katie Simpson of Mulgai and Bearsden in 7, Zara Cowan of First in 8, Lexi Anderson of Dumfries in lane 9. Down the second length, Laura Frizzell is up there in lane 1, Kate Carruthers in lane 3, lane 7 Katie Simpson, Amy Ash as well, not far away, but it looks like it's the Borders girl, Laura Frizzell, based in Galashiels, is going to take this one. 1:08.59 for her. So another good sizable improvement, over 2 seconds for Laura, although she did do a 1:09 this season, so but 1:08, that is new territory I think for her. Amy Ash, one of your swimmers in East Kilbride, taking second.
Yeah, she did a really strong second 50 there. I was just watching that quite closely as well.
So on to heat number 5. So another East Kilbride swimmer taking the water here in lane 0. That's Skye Mulholland. Then Rada McGregor of Carnegie is in 1. 2 is Sala Bernholt of Barnet Copthall. 3 Taylor Walker of Ren 96. Leonie Young goes in lane 4 for Billingham. Nicole Flynn of Cumbernauld in 5. 6 is Jessica Williamson of Wigan Best. Rebecca Ogier, East Kilbride in 7. Cara Myatt of Dumfries in 8. And Caitlin Rosie goes for South Aberdeenshire in lane 9. Pretty close at the turn, just 600s between the two in the centre lanes, Leonie and Nicole, and others right up there as well. Lane 3, Taylor Walker is in the mix. Don't discount the far side swimmers, Skye and Thanrada, particularly Skye going very nicely here in lane 0. I don't think we've seen an outside lane win yet, but well, maybe we're going to this time. And it's one of your own, Derek, who gets that one. 1:08.71 for Skye.
Yeah, it's a terrific swim from Skye there. Doesn't surprise me how strong her second 50 was. She did a really good 100 freestyle last weekend at our own meet. So to see her coming back on that on fly wasn't really a surprise, but yeah, really good swim.
Second and a half improvement on her entry time as well.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the latter stages of this underfly. 2 more heats to go.
Again, another few things that you see, Duncan, is when you go in and your teammates are swimming in the heats before you and they make improvements better than your time, and then when you go in, you've got to try and see that. So I've seen that obviously the last couple of heats with our own swimmers. And they're obviously having a wee look at that, and they always want to challenge each other, even although there's a bigger picture out there.
Yep, all these little things are important. So heat 6, the lineup: Chloe Barron of Midlothian in 0, Rebecca Keatley of Middlesbrough in 1, Anna de Grosser of Best in 2, Lauren Chalmers of Ren 96 in 3, Jenny Galloway of Warrender in 4, Jennifer Murray of North Ayrshire in 5, Stella McCarty Ren 96 in 6, Beth Gordon of South Ayrshire in 7, Evie Cuthbert of Midlothian in 8, and Grace Courtney of East Lothian in 9. So we're back to the centre lanes dominating here, and Jennifer Murray in particular in lane 5, the senior bronze squad member, has got maybe a metre or so from lane 3, Lauren Chalmers. And they're going to be 1 and 2, 1:07.34. Here's the winning time there for Jennifer. So again, improvement of over a second on her entry time. Then it's Lauren Chalmers 1:07.71 and Jenny Galloway 1:08.45 taking third. Time for a junior final, by the way, is 1:06.3. So in this final heat, they'd need to knock about a second and a half off those that are juniors, of course, 16 and unders. There's a few of them. The line-up here: Jory Horn of Rutherglen in 0, Claire Wallace of Ren 96 in 1, Erin Taylor of Finns in 2, Stephanie Strang of Carnegie in 3, Imogen Smith of Barnet Copthall in 4, Charlotte Berry, City of Sheffield in 5, Dorothy Goodgame, City of Oxford in 6, Alexandra Murray of Warrender in 7, Iona Wilson of East Lothian in 8, and Evie McLean of City of Oxford in lane 9. In fact, no lane 5 in this one, so just the 9 swimmers. 31.32, slightly slower than the previous heat at halfway. So if somebody is to figure in that junior final, they're really going to have to push it hard in the second half here. It's the senior swimmer Imogen Smith of Barnet, 20-year-old, is making the running here. Then we've got a good contest between Dorothy Goodgame and Alexandra Murray. Alexandra is a junior, and she is just edging into second now. She's not going to catch Imogen, who takes the win in 1:06.87. It was Alexandra second, 1:07.42. And taking third is Dorothy Goodgame, 1:08.14. And probably for the first time, I think, this afternoon, it's the swimmer who was in 10th place this morning can breathe a sigh of relief and say, wow, I'm still there against all the odds.
Yeah, absolutely. But even though when you look at all those heats so far, we've had improvements on entry times across the board, multiple and many heats. And that's the important thing when you come into these heats in the afternoon. You want to try and improve the entry time, and you're just putting pressure on those swimmers for the evening session, and if you do manage to squeeze in, then you make sure you take those opportunities.
So we stick with 100 butterfly as we scroll through all the times from the girls, and we go on to the boys. We've got 6 heats coming up for you for the boys 100 fly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 go in this first heat. Missing swimmer in lane 8. Always have to just look around in case they're sneaking around behind the officials somewhere, but no sign of the swimmer in lane 8. So Harris Harley there is time unceremoniously taken off the scorecard. So 9 goes Scott Smith of Carnegie in 0, Cameron Leckie of Hamilton Baths in 1, Matthew Garrity of Inverclyde in 2, Jack Wales, City of Glasgow in 3, Ewan Pate of Finns in 4, Isaac Ripley of the Borough of Stockton in 5, Alex Campbell goes for City of Manchester in 6, Joseph Robbins of Durham City in 7, and Jonathan Eborn of Newcastle Swim Team in 9. So again, just the 2 lengths of the pool, and it's Cameron Leckie, the early leader in lane 1, 29.17. Beside him, Matthew Garrity, a very promising youngster, youth development squad member. You don't think of him particularly as a fly swimmer, but he is right up there in the mix. Not far behind them in 7, Joseph Robbins of Dumfries, but it looks like it's Matthew just easing through in the latter stages. Good technician, I always feel, Matthew, in across his strokes. 1:02.85 for him, and again that's a very nice improvement into 1:05.20.
Yeah, I think someone like Matthew's trying to build his repertoire of strokes now, that he's known for being really strong in breaststroke, which is obviously then going to benefit him in a medley. So if you're then going working on all those other strokes individually, then you can build that for your medley event.
So there's the lineup for heat number 2. Joshua Mitchell of Warrender, Ross Neely, City of Glasgow, Liam Eccleston of Dumfries, South Ayrshire's Matthew Gordon, Murray Dixon of Stirling, 2 more Dumfries swimmers, Elliot Sinclair, Cameron Allison in 5 and 6. Then our Brose St Thomas swimmer Ryan Duncan in 7, Ben Jenkinson in lane 8 for Cockermouth, and Robbie Wright of Newcastle in lane 9. So the English presence in this one very much at the bottom of your screen against the Scots all the way across the rest of the pool, most of them from the west, a couple not, Joshua from Edinburgh and Ryan from Arbroath. 29.13, pretty much the same split as the first heat. Just with the touch, Cameron Allison, the youth development squad member. Another good all-rounder, but looks like maybe Ross Neely, another specialist breaststroker. Pushy Tong is one of the older swimmers in this group, 19-year-old. But, well, I think it maybe is the white cap of Cameron Allison who's going to come through. Joshua Mitchell going well in lane 0. But Cameron takes the win, 1:02.67. Another good improvement and a couple of tenths faster than the first heat. So Cameron, maybe another one, is just adding to his repertoire. There's Dumfries 1-2 there. Elliot Sinclair just nicking second by 100th from Warrender's Joshua Mitchell. So the line-up for Heat 3. Full line-up: Finn Hurd for South Aberdeenshire, Bartek Gaki of East Lothian, Evan Clark of North Ayrshire, Ben Montgomery of Carnegie, Ryan Ferguson of First, and Cam Jeffrey of City of Manchester, Jacob Elwell, Borough of Stockton, Michael Flynn of Cumbernauld, Lewis Condy from the University of Stirling, and Jack Smith from Cockermouth. Strong start in lane 4. Ryan Ferguson, first swimmer, 1:03.30 entry time, turns 27.68. That is quite a bit faster than we saw in the first 2 heats. He's certainly taken this one out here.
Yeah, it's been a really strong first 50 from Ryan Ferguson, but he just seems to be taking it on and continuing through that, through the second half of the race as well. Looking a really strong swim here.
So just see how he goes against that 1:03.30 entry time. Just going over the minute as he comes in, 1:01.50, so another good improvement registered there. Second place, Jack Smith by half a second from Lewis Condy. Juniors are looking at 60.6 here. Oh, and unfortunately, oh dear, that will not be good news for Ryan. That's our first disqualification of the afternoon, so he's got to go back to the drawing board and figure out what happened there. 1:03.07 then, Jack Smith taking that heat.
I didn't want to curse it at the start of the heat, but without looking on the screen, and I was looking in real time, he was wobbling on the block a little. I did look at his reaction time, which looked normal, but obviously the referee or the starter has seen that he's been moving. He's more than likely been disqualified for a false start.
So that's unfortunate for him. Moving on now to Heat 4. Alexander Harris Sterling in 0, Archie Dixon, City of Glasgow in 1, Thomas Adamson of Derwentside in 2, Johan Fawcett of Rutherglen in 3, Jay Manners from the City of Sunderland in 4. Then we have Yasin O'Neill of West Lothian in 5, Mark Devlin of Bells Hill in 6, Cameron Creaney of Cumbernauld in 7, Craig Mellon, East Lothian in 8, and Owen Ray of Warrender in lane 9. The Sunderland man, Jay Manners, just 61.6 at the North East Regionals in the last few weeks, and he's inside that, 60.38 this afternoon. So again, it's just these steady incremental gains, and if you can keep doing that, then that's all good news. Thomas Adamson taking second, Alexander Harris in third. So this is Heat 5. And off they go. Thomas English is in 0. Ollie Hall in 1. Chesley Street and Middlesbrough respectively. Rory Young of Hearts in 2. Cameron Gordon of Dumfries in 3. Fraser Allison of Warrender in 4. Rory Dixon of North Ayrshire in 5. Then we have Archie Dunn of Skipton in 6, James Riley of East Kilbride in 7, Brendan Johnson from the University of Aberdeen in 8, and Matthew Cairns in lane 9 for Durham City. 28.07, slightly faster split than the previous heat. Time was Ryan Ferguson's, of course, before his DQ. Fraser Allison looks to be leading the way, 19-year-old from Warrender. probably best known for the likes of 400 IM. He is maybe half a metre up on Rory Dixon, who is gradually bringing this lead down. It's all pretty close there, 60.19, so we're getting very close to getting under the minute. So an improvement of a second there for Rory and Fraser, just 100th in it. Rory just nicking it.
Yeah, that's just seen the importance of getting your hand on the wall quickly, and you've seen in the last 3 strokes there, Rory really increasing the rate of his arms to get his hands on the wall first.
Yeah, that's really about racing there, wasn't it? He knew where Fraser was, he just had to try and nick it off him.
Yeah, it's to know where your opponent is as well, but know what you've got to do to know where the wall is, so that you're not actually looking for the wall in the last few strokes, and it's just making sure that you get on the wall on a full stroke.
We've had Australian coaching guru Wayne Goldsmith up in Scotland for the last few weeks, and one of the things he said when he was in the East was, in the heats you go for a time trial, but in the finals you race to win. But for these guys, they're not likely to get into the final, so really they're racing to win, aren't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and whether that's racing to win in terms of the heat, or whether that's racing to win in terms of making an improvement on your best time, each individual will have their own goal as to what that race means, but certainly, yeah, these guys should all be racing and racing hard at every opportunity.
So this is the final heat. Henry Moore goes for Southport in 0. Lane 1 is Finn Armit for Winsford. Empty lane in 2. Lewis Birrell of Warrender in 3. Then in lane 4, Matthew Sylvester of Wigan Best. Owen McBurney of Dumfries in 5. Miles Lapsley in 6 for West Lothian. 7 is Angus Allison of Warrender. Keir Edgar for first, and Adam Strickland for Derwentside completes the lineup. Going very nicely, the first swimmer, Keir Edgar, in lane 8, and over on the other side of the pool, Henry Moore is pushing on really strongly. Well, we've seen one win from lane 0, we've just seen another one, 59.27 for the 15-year-old from Southport. And looking at that, the time for the junior finals was 60.6, so Henry gets another swim. Very well done. Keir Edgar, 59.47. He's an 18-year-old, so he was about half a second away from the time required for a place in the B final. Miles Lapsley taking third, 1:00.26, so he's maybe got a chance as well of making it through. Will be revealed shortly. Of course, you can check it up on Meet Mobile or on the City of Glasgow International Meet website. Check it out for yourself. Back to the girls now. 200 backstroke is coming up, so 4 lengths of the pool this time, and we've got 4 heats. The lineup there for heat number 1. Just checking the backstroke ledges are all properly in position before we go. Looks like we're there now. Referee's whistle blows. The swimmers will make their entrance into the pool. There are 7 of them in this first heat. Rebecca Black goes for Warrender in 1. Abby Armstrong of Dundee City Aquatics in 2. Laura Frizzell of Best in 3. Abby Tyson, Western Bartonshire in 4. Poppy MacDonald of City of Glasgow in 5. Kate Galliner of Wren 96 in 6. And Lauren Taylor of City of Glasgow in 7. I think probably for their first time this afternoon, an all-Scottish field here. And a good start from the Borders girl Laura Frizzell. Off the wall, strong push off. So she'll be looking to take that momentum into this first 50. Coming up now beside her, Abby Tyson of Western Bartonshire. See which one of those gets the touch. It looks like it might be Abby. It is Abby, 35.62. Laura in second. Kate Galliner in third. getting good turn technique there, and maybe just push her back into the lead in what's sort of going back and forth a bit here between lanes 3 and 4. And plenty of others still very much in the mix here. Lane 1, Rebecca Black, I think maybe has just edged into third place ahead of Kate Galliner in lane 6. But again, it is Abby just getting the touch by 300ths only, slightly more than that from the naked eye. But again, Laura just seemed to come out of that turn about a metre ahead there. So she's clearly getting that right, relatively speaking, and that must give her quite the advantage as this race progresses if she can get a metre out of every turn.
Yeah, absolutely, especially on a 200 backstroke where your legs become really important because they can feel really heavy through a 200 backstroke, especially on the long course pool. So if she's making the most of that off the wall, she might not need to kick as hard through that first 100, allowing her to work off the walls, we'll see here, but then that can kick her on as she goes. But again, there's a lovely 5-6 dolphin kicks off the wall, really making them purposeful. And you can see that that's making a massive difference for her in this heat.
Yeah, so she was only a metre or so up going into that turn, and look at her now. She's about 5 metres clear on the rest of the field. You can get a nice focus of her from some view to see that on the other side of the pool, so she can just turn around. And coming in here with the dominant swim, 2:34.63, about 1.3 inside her entry time. So that's a second good swim from Laura this afternoon. So well done to her. And there is the lineup, or rather the result confirmed. Lauren Taylor and Kate Galliner second and third. On to heat 2. So just another wee look at that result in case you didn't catch it first time. No effort spared from our production crew to keep you fully in the picture. Looks like a full lineup for heat number 2. Zoe McKinley goes for Ren 96 in 0, Emma DeVette, West Lothian in 1, Sophie Ferguson of Hearts in 2, Rebecca Schulman of Warrender in 3, Jenna Cool of Bellsill in 4, Natasha Simpson of Warrender in 5, Liberty Blair of Stirling in 6, Emma King of West Lothian in 7, Holly Milne of First in 8, Lindsay Cameron of Vries in 9, so another all-Scottish affair. Entry times in this one range 2:33 to 2:35. So Derek, these meets like this, obviously quite a big meet, there's some big names here, but you've got big meets coming up in the summer, so where are you in your training tackle? You've also, a lot of swimmers are also going through an exam period at the same time, so where will they be?
So to be honest, some of our guys for here have come down a little this week, just to be able to try and swim fast, getting the most out of the end of the window, and then a couple of easier days, maybe Monday and Tuesday, and then get back into the harder work, so that you can be in that block. Most of those who will be swimming through the summer championships probably will, although they'll probably swim at the Scottish National Open at the end of June, that probably won't be the main focus for them, but there'll be some who aren't doing the summer championships that then will be the focus, is to swim fast then at the end of June. So it's trying to individualise programmes as much as possible, within the confines of working within a team and a squad as well, and it's just knowing in advance of who's doing what and what plans each person's got for the summer, and their families have got to have holidays as well, and it just depends on how we've planned each person's cycle out.
So Jenna Cole is pushing this one on strongly in lane 5. In the red cap are Bellshill Sharks. And Lindsay Cameron has been going well all the way through in lane 9 at the bottom of the pool, but I think it's going to be Jenna taking this one fairly comfortably. They'll all know where they are in their rankings because they get published regularly. So I guess also if you're close maybe to a place in the British and you just want to get that, as you talked about now, another few tenths just to try and make sure of a place in the British, that would give you a reason, I guess, to have that little bit of rest and give it a final push here.
Yeah, but sometimes that can also work against you. That actually, if you try too hard to try and go with that tenth of a second quicker or 2 tenths, what we've always got to be mindful of is that there are some meets elsewhere. This isn't the only meet that's on this weekend. And although we go 2 tenths or 3 tenths quicker, there could be somebody that goes a second quicker down south or even in Wales that then squeezes you out again. So you can't rely on just what we're doing here in Glasgow. We've got to take cognizance of what's happening elsewhere.
So I miscalled that last result, so apologies for that. And Tasha Simpson it was taking the win, 2:35.05. Lindsay Cameron second and Jenna Cole third. 2 more heats to go. Again, all lanes occupied for heat number 3. With the line-up being Cara Myatt of Dumfries in 0, Jessica Heaps of West Lothian in 1, Southport's Mia Smith in 2, Grace Courtney of East Lothian in 3, Katie Tulloch of South Aberdeenshire in 4, Sarah Hill of Aberdeen Dolphin in 5, Izzy Fear of Durham City in 6, Ella Smith of Southport in 7, Summer Innes and Jessica Dempster, both from West Lothian, go in lanes 8 and 9. Seem to be talking to the Dumfries swimmers quite a bit. Cara Myatt going in as well. At the moment it's the Aberdeen Dolphin leading the way, 33.88 for her. 13-year-old did her time 2:32. You talked about some of them being recent. Hers is very recent at the University of Aberdeen meet just a couple of weeks ago. One of the things about this meet is that they will take times right up very close to the swim date, so if you have improved your time you can slot that in, and that's what Sarah has done, and she is going to lead them through. So again, if she can improve on that again, just keep those incremental improvements going, it would be very good for her. 1:12.75, so that's about 3 seconds faster than the previous heat at the halfway point. Also in the white cap is Izzy Fear in lane 6, the Durham swimmer. So she has entered 2:32.6, 6 tenths behind Sarah on paper. They are 1 and 2, a number of swimmers pretty close for third as we come up to the 150 turn. That gives you a better view of Sarah's lead there. And again, seemed to pick up a bit of an advantage there through that turn, which she went through in 1:52 dead.
Yeah, just watching that's really promising to see a young 13-year-old that's really committing to going on using that dolphin underwater kicking, and especially on the last turn.
Well, if an Aberdeen Dolphin can't do a dolphin kick on the turn, then nobody can, surely. Excellent stuff from Sarah. And she certainly used that skill to good effect here. So let's see if she can improve on that time she did in Aberdeen 2 weeks ago. 2:29.99, she certainly can. She'll be very happy with that, to improve by 2 seconds, just 2 weeks from her previous win.
Yeah, and that looked a really balanced swim from Sarah there as well. It wasn't anything to going out really fast and then slowing it down. It looked as if there was a real maturity to it. And being able to create the balance across each of the 450s.
Of course, another consideration for these swimmers in the age group ranks is squads and the times that they're required to qualify for squads. So will that be very much in their mind as well this weekend?
I think it's in some people's minds. I think sometimes with squads it's easier just to race first and then let the times happen. I've always found over time that if you've got, say, 3 times on the board and you need the 4th and you're chasing that down, it becomes the stress that takes over, and then you don't quite make it. And you're letting the stress of a time take over rather than just getting in and applying the processes to what you do and what you can do and what you practice in training. So I think it's really important for any of the young swimmers out there that might be watching or might be listening, that you've got to just work on all the things that you can control, and if you do them and you do them to the best of your ability, then if the times happen, then you will then ultimately go and make those squads.
So don't overstress about it, is perhaps the
Yeah,
main message.
absolutely. You've got to enjoy swimming first. That's the reason why we come into it. That's the reason why we spend so many hours training and spending so many hours at swim meets, is because we enjoy it and we get a lot out of it. And we've got to remember that. That's first and foremost why we're in the sport.
So this is the final heat of the 200 backstroke girls. Again, all 10 lanes occupied, with Holly Miller going for Hamilton Baths in 0, Madison Tour Cockermouth in 1. Just asked to relax there, so obviously the starter just not quite happy with what he saw, so they'll regroup and start again. Continue the line-up. Megan Porteous of East Lothian is in 2, Hebe Weavers of Carnegie in 3, Sarah Coffey of First will go in 4, Hannah Petner of Wirral Metro in 5, Jessica Lord of Southport in 6, Esme Lee of Finns in 7, Fern Crichton of Perth City in 8, and Coco Sowden for Borough of Stockton in lane 9. So this time they are away. Entry times here 2:29 to 2:31. 2:32 is the junior entry time. Looking through the lineup, all bar one of these swimmers is a junior. So again, we talked about, they know that they've done the time to get a second swim. They just need to now put it into practice here. And a strong start in lane 6, that is Mia Smith. In fact, it's not, it's Jessica Laura, I should say, of Southport. She's got the early advantage here. Around about half a metre up on lane 5. Hannah Petner. Still heads as they come through. So both showing good backstroke technique there, and absolutely together pretty much at the turn. 1:12.55 the split there. So these two girls side by side will be very aware of each other, you would think here. So that would be, I suppose, a distraction or maybe a spur. And a Petner seems to be just getting the upper hand here. Coco Sowden up there at the bottom of the pool. Not literally. At the bottom of your screen is perhaps a better way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're seeing a really good third 50 there from Hannah Petner. She's really applied pressure on Jessica in that third 50, and she's then just now maintaining that stroke rate that she had increased to in the 450. And again, that's then just taking her on and extending that lead.
Yeah, she's looking pretty good for this one now.
Yeah, it's one of the key factors that we would talk to swimmers about, is trying to pick up on that third 50 if you can, and the way that Hannah's just executed that there was really, really good.
Yeah, so nice stuff from her. .27.86 as you saw on your screen. Looks like we're missing a time for Sarah Coffey, so I'll just need to sort that out. And we'll get a confirmed result for you. So 2:27.86, that was a long way inside the time that was required for a place in the junior final. In fact, it was only half a second away from the B final time, so very nice swim from Hannah into 2:30. So the Wirral swimmer putting in a very good performance there. And there is the confirmed result now. Jessica Law second, Coco Southern third. On to the boys, 5 heats for them. So, be looking to see if we can get more swimmers into finals, as we see there the summary from that girls 200 backstroke. 10 at a time. Hannah Petner top of that group. You briefly saw the lineup there for heat 1 of the 200 backstroke. Now you can have a better look at it. Finley Hay of Carnegie in 1, Struan McFarlane of Stirling in 2, Cian McNellis of Inverclyde in 3, Jack Milne of Dundee City Aquatics in 4, James Robb of Warrender in 5, Kieran Adam of Carnegie in 6, Kyle Gemmell City of Glasgow in 7, Fergus Miller of East Lothian in 8, and Ryan Anderson of Bells Hill in lane 9. Kieran Adam has had an opportunity to come in as a reserve, so he'll be looking to take full advantage of that. Meanwhile, though, it's Cian McNellis leading the way here, 33.25 early on. Got another para swimmer here, Jack Milne, another S14 swimmer for Dundee City Aquatics. Of course, the 200 is not part of the para S14 programme, certainly in the strokes anyway, so Jack won't have done this too often. He's in lane 4 in the back in the contest for third, behind a dominant Cian McNellis and then Struan McFarlane. 10.50 for Cian, 16-year-old from Inverclyde, entered 2:29.4.
Yeah, and you're looking at that as an entry time of 2:29.4. When you turn in 1:10, especially on backstroke, there shouldn't be too much drop off. So I would be hoping that Cian will be able to hang on to this pretty well and maybe take one of those bigger chunks off that we've seen from a few swimmers today.
He's certainly looking pretty strong through this third 50, so he's holding on to that lead. Coming up and into the turn in 1:49.44. So the pace has dropped off in that third 50. That was a 39 compared with the 37 that he did in the second 50. So surely still going to be well inside his entry time, but certainly put his eggs into the first half basket.
Oh yeah, it's paying off in that sense, and getting out there. But sometimes you've just got to be aware of how much that can take out of you. But he's certainly really pushed on in this heat, and he's going to win it by some margin.
Jack Milner's had a good second half, so different tactic from him. He comes in for second. Having a few problems with the touchpad in lane 4. He didn't get a touch. There, but 2:26.83 is the time here, and it was 2.5 seconds inside his entry time. So good from him. Jack Milne was second, but again we're still waiting for that time to come up for him, so should get that shortly. Behind him I think it was Carl Gemmell, the City of Glasgow, 2:30.95 showing for him at the moment, just outside his entry time. Inverclyde is a programme that's made a lot of progress in the last 2 or 3 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, Shirley's done a terrific job coaching down at Inverclyde. She's actually built a team of coaches around her as well. But yeah, they've started through Matthew Garrity and Amy Watson, especially on breaststroke. But there's now a lot of others feeding off that and feeding off some of their success, and they're certainly coming through in their droves now.
There you can see Jack Mills' time in second place, 2:28.91 for the para swimmer. So good swim from him as well, just around his entry time. Coming on to heat number 2 now. The entry times for this heat range 2:26 low to 2:28 high. So about 2.5 second spread. Just a little pause in proceedings, but the whistle goes now to get them ready and into the pool. Officials come through just to check everything's in order, particularly on feet position. Referee's hand goes up and the starter does his job. And away they go. Ben Brown, Cumbernauld in 0, Luke Hornsey of East Lothian in 1, Jonathan Stones of Durham City in 2, Scott Smith of Carnegie in 3, Andrew Sutherland of North Ayrshire in 4, Rowan Murray of Mid Lothian in 5, Callum Peebles of East Lothian in 6, Owen Carroll of Perth City in 7, Daniel McCormack of Western Bartonshire in 8, and Matthew Gordon, South Ayrshire in lane 9. So Owen Carroll in lane 7 and Jonathan Stones in lane 2, the front runners here, 33.58. Owen's the fastest 50 split. Going in an unfamiliar orange cap for Perth.
Yeah, I was just wondering that myself. I don't know if it's one of the celebratory style caps or not, depending on how many years their club's been going. But that's the second one I've seen today, and it's normally a lot striking when you see the red cap of Perth.
So we need to find out about that. You can tweet us and tell us what the orange cap is all about. Ben Brown, though, taking over the lead over in lane 0, Cumbernauld swimmer, 1:11.42. Spacing this perhaps a little steadier than we saw from Kean in the first heat. It'd be interesting to see how they pace the second half. But Ben is looking pretty strong here now. Did his time at West Districts early in the year in this pool where he was 5th. And is he going to turn in the lead again at the 150? Maybe not. No, it's Rowan Murray this time, the Midlothian swimmer. So 3 turns, 3 different leaders. But who's going to have the lead where it matters at the end of this length? It's anybody's race really, Derek, isn't it?
Yeah, it's between the 3 of them there. You've got Ben up in lane 0, you've got Rowan in 5 and Owen in lane 7. So, but it's just about how much can you keep that stroke rate going, keep attacking through the leg kick to try and get your hand on the wall first, because still can't call it here even with the last few metres.
Oh, I'm shocked and disappointed that you didn't have one there. You go, Owen Carroll it was who got it, 2:27.65. With a tight contest indeed. Ben Brown 2:28.31, Callum Peebles 2:28.43, but Rowan Murray just ahead of both of them, 2:28.04 in second place. On to heat 3 as we see these swimmers clear the pool. Of course, at your meet last weekend you kept them in the pool for the backstroke, didn't you, and carried on, and that seemed to work pretty well from what I've heard.
Yeah, so we got the idea from the Summer Championships last year down in Sheffield, where obviously when backstroke events finish, we've usually got that time where they need to come across all the lanes to get out the pool, which obviously can take time up, and obviously time's precious when it comes to swim meets. So what we did was we did a wee trial to see what people thought of it, to see about whether we can start to implement that more often, and actually it was found that on each of the two sessions through the 100 and the 200 backstroke that we saved significant amounts of time, best part of 40 to 45 seconds per heat, which obviously over the course of a session can be a significant amount of time. So when things go wrong, if you've got a problem with a touchpad or the electronics, then actually that time can balance out a little, so it buys you a little bit of time. So we found that really worthwhile to do.
What did the swimmers think about it? Were they happy to start with a swimmer on the lane rope beside them? That did not put them off in any way?
No, the general feedback was that they found it, because the swimmers want to see the sessions run just that wee bit quicker as well. So again, it's probably back to when we started over the top starts off the block. You've had the opportunity there to know that there's a swimmer directly below you, so it's then just changing that perception where the swimmer's then to the side of you. But obviously when you're at toll cross and you're at 10 lanes, that takes even a further amount of time to get those swimmers out the pool. So obviously they're not using it here, but it's something that I see could be used in the future at meets, certainly in terms of just making developments, not necessarily to squeeze more swimmers into events or more heats into the sessions, but certainly just to make the product for the athletes, the spectators and the coaches just that little bit better.
So we're into the second half of this race. The line-up: Ewan Beattie, Kai Carlos, Archie Sorensen, Eric Davey, Robert Burgess, David Kernahan, Conor Mowbray, Finlay Hartworth, Scott Muirden and Dylan Cashmore. And again, it's another close affair. Lane 1 is Kai Carlos. He's up there, but pretty much with him now. In lane 7 is Finlay Hartworth, and there's half a second separating them with 50 to go. 1:47.40 is faster than the first two heats. Lane 4, Robert Burgess is definitely interested in this one as well. Youngster from West Lothian, in fact just making the move over to City of Glasgow, joining the Glasgow School of Sport. So he is pushing on hard here, but I don't think he's going to catch Kai in the yellow cap up in lane 1, swimming for Barnet. Oh, it was pretty tight at the end there. I think that Kai got it. No time coming up for Robert, so we don't know for absolute definites, but in my eyes it was Kai that got it.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that time that it was Kai that got it. Yeah, it was there, just by 0.2 of a second.
2:24.29 for Robert. And Finlay Hartworth in third from Morpeth in Northumberland. 2:25.14. Just give you an idea here, we're looking at 2:19 to qualify for the junior final. Again, the board has been cleared here at Toll Cross. I think it's because we've got some maintenance to do. You can see there the pool staff. I suspect that's because of these bad touches we've been getting in lane 4, and they're looking to sort that out. The backstroke ledge comes out. Are they doing a pad change maybe, or a button change?
That's what it looks like, as if they're going to change the touchpad. But that goes back to the reason I was saying that sometimes it can be beneficial to use, especially in these afternoon sessions that are full to capacity, that you can sometimes just save a little bit of time, maybe by doing we call them over the top starts, but in backstroke it's really round the side starts.
Yes, so what is the technical term for that? Yes,
I don't really know, but it's the easiest way to describe it to people.
Yeah.
So what we actually had to do before our meet, I devised a wee video from the British Championships last year just to make everyone aware that we were going to do it. So put that out a few weeks beforehand, and then on the day we showed just at the end of each of the warm-ups where it was going to be for those sessions, just as a reminder to swimmers, because not everyone will check their social media feeds or get that passed down, so just so that everyone was aware of what was happening and give each swimmer the opportunity to know what was going on, so that not phased or stressed or anything makes them anxious before they go.
Yep, nice shot of some of our gallery here. You wouldn't say it's full, but it's a decent number of people here because it's a huge gallery here in Tollcross, so it can take an awful lot of people, and there are quite a lot of people here watching this afternoon, so glad to have them here. And of course, if you're watching us, we're glad to have you watching here as well on the live stream. And there, shot of lane 2 as we just wait to get this replacement pad in place. We've still got 2 heats to go. Just looking at the entry times here, the fastest is 2:19. As I said, 2:19 is the time. 2:19.67 to be precise is the currently 10th fastest junior. So again, we could have swimmers going there or thereabouts. Sam Glass is marked as the fastest in that 2:19. Now, he missed a swim earlier. Now, that might be because he's not here, might be because he's not well, or it might be that he's saving himself for this race. So we'll have to see whether he is here for this one. So the ledge is going back now into lane 4, and that hopefully means that we are just about ready to get back up and running. The whistle goes, so yes we are. And the swimmers come forward for heat number 4. We have an empty lane in this one as well. No Craig MacDonald in lane 7. So the 9 swimmers. Lewis Thompson of Midlothian in 0. Jacob Elwell of Borough of Stockton in 1. Cameron Palmer of Bellshill in 2. Ian Campbell of Stirling Swim in 3, Alex Beveridge of University of Aberdeen in 4, Angus Johnson of Western Bartonshire in 5, Jet Brown, Hearts in 6, Travis Davey of Dundee City Aquatics in 8, and Callum Dunn of South Ayrshire in lane 9. And it is the Western Bartonshire swimmer Angus Johnson just in the lead, although up with him in lane 2, Bellshill's Cameron Palmer. In fact, it's Cameron who gets the touch by 200s, 32.87 for him. And he's opened up a bit more of a gap now and is pushing pretty hard here in this second 50. So I feel that there's a lot of energy going into this race from him.
Yeah, he looks to be putting quite a lot into this first 100. It can be risky on a 200 backstroke. Just as we see a close-up shot of that Stirling swimmer that's next to him in lane 3. But so it'll be interesting to see as he goes up this third 50, as he put just a little too much energy and maybe a wee bit too much in the legs in the first 100. I'm sure we'll find out shortly.
Ian Campbell is about a metre behind him, and then we've got the Hart swimmer Jack Brown and the South Ayrshire swimmer Callum Dunn down towards the bottom of your screen. But it does look like Leon now is taking it on in lane 3. Is he going to be first to turn at the 150? I think he is. 146.71. He's now 4/10 up on Cameron. So perhaps your premonitions coming through here, Derek, as unless Cameron can find a second wind in this final 50, it'll be tough for him now. Jack Brown is that far back in lane 6. So we focus now. Palmer, although he's leading May here, it is going to be the swimmer beside him. As we pan out, we see Liam Campbell bringing it in from Jack Brown. 4/10 the gap between them, with Cameron Palmer behind them. But Callum Dunn, in fact, coming through for third spot. 2:22.70, so thereabouts on entry times. 2:22.68 for Leon's entry time, so 200ths off it. I don't think we'll quibble about that. We'll call that essentially matching his PB.
Yeah, sometimes we don't really bother with those ones. If it's 200s inside, then yeah, we'll make a deal of it. But when it's a couple of hundreds outside, then it's not the end of the world.
No, no, that's nothing really. So you can see the lineup there for heat number 5. We saw that superb swim from Louis Law in the IM earlier, so we'll see what he can do in backstroke now in lane 3. Well, the answer on Sam Glass is that he's not there, so clearly there's something up with Sam and he's not able to swim. So lane 4 is empty. Next fastest 2:20.20. Both Louis Lawler and Robert Wright entered on that time in lanes 3 and 5. With the lineup, Richard Butterworth of Warmouth in 0, Lucas Green first in 1, then 2 Glaswegians, Ewan Gumble in 2, Lawler in 3. Robert Wright and Robbie Wright, just a commentator's nightmare there in lanes 5 and 6 for Warrender and Newcastle respectively. Nathan Beardwell of Barnet in 7, Finlay Wallace of St Thomas in 8, and Angus Harold of South Aberdeenshire in lane 9. Louis Lawler, well, continuing as he went off. Of course, he had a superb backstroke in that IM earlier this afternoon, and he is looking really good shape here.
Yeah, as that looks so much control compared to if we look at Cameron in the previous heat. If you're watching Louis there, he looks to just be letting the legs tick over and kicking just enough, with a nice even stroke rate to it. Hopefully that he can then come off the wall and then try and kick on in this third 50 and then try and increase what you do and apply the pressure to the stroke.
1:07.61 is the fastest time we've seen. Now coming up alongside him. With focus here on a nice close-up of Louis, and now we see Hare's positioning. Keep your eye also on Nathan Beardwell in lane 7, the Barnet swimmer going pretty nicely. I think he's moved up ahead of the swimmers on the far side into second place, behind Louis, who goes through 1:44.75. So Louis 17, so does qualify as a junior. So the time we're looking at 2:19.6. See if he can do that. He was about a 37 on that last leg, so he'd have to pick it up a couple of seconds in this last length. That might be just an arse too far, but we'll see. Robbie Wright now on the shoulder of Nathan Beardwell and really challenging him along with the swimmers on the far side. 2:20.26, so good swim there from Louis, but we'll not see him tonight unless there's withdrawals. We didn't like that. Yeah.
Because it's 6/100s outside the entry time. But no, I was just going to go back on what we were chatting about in the previous heat. When you're 2/100s outside, it's sometimes, or even 6 in Louis' case here, it's sometimes interesting as a coach to go back and compare the two swims, to see tactically how did you go about it, what was the balance, how was the first 50, and compare those, because that then can help you plan things out, especially when you're in training. To try and then go and make some slight changes and tweaks that then help those drops.
Because I guess particularly in a 200 or a longer event, swimmers get into a sort of pattern of how they swim it, and is it good to say mix that up, try different things?
Yeah, it depends obviously what meet. You don't want to try too many things at the higher, more important level of meets, but certainly where you've got opportunities to go and make a change, you've got to go and try and implement that change as best you can, because if you try it and it doesn't work, then that gives you the chance to then make another change when it becomes a more significant opportunity.
I guess just because it doesn't work first time round doesn't mean it's not the right thing
absolutely.
to do.
Never say never, really. It might work, but then not work for a couple of years, and then you go back and again, we were talking about things clicking earlier, it might then just click again. So it's just good to try different things but not change too much in one go.
So we move to 50s now. This is women's 50 freestyle. This is the first of 9 heats. Beth Johnson, Ailsa Kellis, Hannah Edmiston, Sally Nesbitt, Fern Crichton, Leonie Young, Hebe Weavers and Eva Bell. The line-up in this one. Entry times all around the 30 seconds, just over. So these swimmers would love to have a time starting with a 2. Good start from Ailsa Kellis, the Carnegie swimmer, in lane 2, and I think she's got the edge here from lane 3, Hannah Edmiston, lane 5, Fern Crichton. And they are running Ailsa pretty close here, but the Carnegie girl holding on to take the win. 29.34, so 2 swimmers getting under the 30 seconds there. Fern Crichton, the second of them, so well done to them. 30.02 for Hannah Edmiston, so good improvement as well for her. 400s, as you said. We'll take the hundreds when it's an improvement. But Ailsa getting a nice improvement from 30.10 down to 29.34. As we go to heat number 2, Beth Wilson, Corinne Hart, Rebecca Black, Carly Nimmo, Abby Davis, Hannah McCulloch, Anna Colston, Natalie Riley, Holly Lumsden and Maisie Stewart. So these swimmers all in the high 29s, 29.8s and 29.9s. One swimmer, Maisie Stewart, on 30 dead. So lane 1, Corinne Hart, and lane 5, Hannah McCulloch, I think, are the 2 vying for this one. Who gets the touch? I think it's Hannah. It's not coming up on our screen, but looking at the scoreboard here in the venue, it is Hannah who takes the win. There's confirmation of that, 29.23, just slightly faster than the previous heat. So well done to her. On to heat 3, Ayumi Falls, Sarah Williams, Francesca Kane, Keisha McCormack, Rebecca Braid, Chloe Barron, Gemma Gerstenberger, Emma Freeborn, Emma Leggett. Good start from Francesca Kane, of course had that superb swim earlier on. She's pretty good here, as we focus in here on this one's in the centre lane, between Carnegie's and Midlothian swimmer, but it's going to be Francesca well clear. I mean, a body length in the terms of a 53 is a big lead, and that's another big improvement for her. 28.76 on a 29.70 entry time. So whatever Francesca had for lunch, she should have more of it.
Absolutely. But again, once you have a really positive swim like she did earlier, then you're just brimming with that self-confidence and belief that every race that you're then going to do, especially if you can do that in that first swim of the meet, that can then just springboard you on through the whole weekend.
So she'll be hoping now for a big 2 days coming up after this. On to heat 4, Mia Ferguson, Eve Mayer, Caitlin Rosie, Sarah Coffey, Abby Tyson, Emma Scully, Beth Gordon, Amy Shields, Hannah Thompson and Molly Cannon. 29.4 to 29.6 the entry times here, and this is really blanket of swimmers. Maybe lane 7, Amy Shields of Mulgai and Bearsden, but over on the other side, Mia Ferguson of East Kilbride, and I think it might be Mia. Second time today we've seen a win from lane 0 from an East Kilbride swimmer. So you might get them in that lane more often, Derek.
Yeah, absolutely. It wouldn't be my lane of choice, but at the same time, you've got to go and work towards that. No matter what lane you're drawn, the lanes all look the same. They're the same width, same length. So you've got an opportunity to win the heat, haven't you?
Yeah, and that's exactly what she did there, and a 3/10 improvement as well. On to heat number 5, Zara Cowan, Anna Williamson, Elspeth Roper, Madison Turner, Carla Brawley, Erin Gourley, Neve Tierney, Rebecca Ivans, Imani Barker and Charlie Bridges. The line up here, 29.2s to 29.4. It's very tight, all these entry times, and this one really, really close. Lanes 2, perhaps. Elspeth Roper just easing into the lead in the latter stages. Lane 9 going well, but it was Elspeth Roper taking the win. 29.10 by 500ths from Madison Turner, and then Carla Brawley and Charlie Bridges. So improvement of a tenth or so for Elspeth there.
Just shows you though that a lot of these girls, although that are making improvements, they're just making those slight improvements that we would expect in those 50s. But something's just going really well for Francesca Kane from a few heats ago, especially today with two big, massive chunks and massive PBs.
So heat 6, Natasha Simpson, Rachel Dawson, Lauren McLean, and she's not here, Amy Harkness, Jennifer Murray, Lauren Patterson, Alicia Lumsden, Jenna Gilmore, Jessica Dempster and Coco Sowden. Lanes 4 and 5, and also lane 1, Rachel Dawson, but it's Jennifer Murray, I think, in lane 4 has just got the edge. Rachel Dawson running her close, but at the end, Jennifer just making sure of it. 28.39, half a second improvement. That's a good solid improvement on a 50. Lauren Patterson, in fact, edging second ahead of Rachel Dawson in third. 800s between those two. Fast and furious, these 50s. As we go on to heat number 7. And the line up here. We have Alicia Greenshield, Skye Mulholland, Emma DeVette, Jessica Williamson, Sophie Hall, Katie Tulloch, Alana MacDonald, Jory Horn, Gretel Goodgame and Caitlin Gillies. So we're in the 28s all the way here, 28.6 to 28.8. The line up here, and well, again it's picker winner. A lot of the action up on the top of your screen here. Maybe lane 1, Skye Mulholland. And it is Skye, her second heat win of the afternoon. 28.58, entered 28.82, so quarter of a second knocked off her entry time. Looking at the other swimmers on the 28s, and it was all around her. Alicia Greenshields and Emma DeVette, both under 29 seconds. On to heat 8 now. This one we're looking 28 dead as the time required for the juniors. Elle Sutherland, Rebecca Shulman, Ellie Hamilton, Heather Brolly, Megan Porteous, Yasmin Lapsley, Victoria Duncan, Thana McGregor, Louisa Stoddard and Emma Stevenson. Right up here. 28.3 to 28.6 the entry times. Lane 3, Heather Brolly, and beside her, Ellie Hamilton. Well, in fact, it's really tight. Lane 8, in fact, Louisa Stoddart maybe just nicked it. She did. 28.41, so she improves by a couple of tenths. And a bit of a rocky national age groups, Louisa Stoddart, so nice to see her picking up her best time there. On to the final heat. Again, just a reminder, 28.00 for the juniors. Got a few seniors in this final heat as well. One of them, Emily Grant, in 0. Then we've got Ellie Turner, Lauren Turnbull, Elizanne Pinfold, Charlotte Berry, Stephanie Strang, Abby Sinclair, Imogen Smith, Nick Brothers, Nicole Pryor. Can anybody get into the 27s here? 28.07, the fastest entry time. Again, it's the action seems to be up at the top of your screen as they come in. The three of them all pretty much for muchness, but it was Ellie Turner, 27.80, so she gets another swim tonight. The U Squad member from Carnegie in Dunfermline. So very nicely done, entered 28.20, so she improves by 4 tenths. Having a really good season, Ellie. Backstroke is probably her specialism, but that was a nice freestyle from her, showing good pace.
Yeah, and we've also seen from Ellie a lot of times this year is swimming some other events you wouldn't normally see her do. So that's sometimes when you get to that age and it puts a bit more enjoyment into it again. You can take the pressure off some of your main events at different meets. I'm sure Ellie would already be pretty confident with some of her times that she's already put within the window, so it maybe gives her the opportunity to swim some different events here.
Yes, we've seen that from a number of the senior swimmers, and I think seeing Mark Shranick this morning doing some swims that I don't think I've seen him do since he was about 12 or 13. So.
Yeah, again, Mark probably just likes racing, Probably did a lot of that when he was out in the States. But yeah, it's somebody used to have quite a big programme, and then it's been refined down to some of those main events. But it's good to see them playing about with some of these other events and having a bit of fun.
So here we go with the boys 50 freestyle. This is the first of 6 heats. Charlie Smith, Cameron Gordon, Sam Sabawal, David Rowan, Ross Errants, Robbie Wright, Isaac Ripley and James Robb. And a good start in lane 1 from Charlie Smith, one of the older swimmers, in fact the oldest 21-year-old in this lineup. He's coming under a bit of pressure in the latter stages and might just have lost it. In fact he did. It was Ross Errants putting in a huge finish there, 26.34 for him. Entered 27.10, so that's another very substantial improvement. Charlie Smith second and Cameron Gordon third, all three of them in the 26s, so good improvements from the trio. Heat 2, we've got Dominic Anderson, Finn Birkin, William Ellis, Craig Mellon, Jamie Hamilton, Alex Thompson, Fergus Miller, Murray Dixon, Ross Johnson and Lewis Condy. Times here 26.8 27. Three though coming through Craig Mellon. It's going to be Craig, I think. Yes, it is 26.37 for him. So a nice substantial improvement for him as well. So he takes the win from Lewis Condy and Alex Thompson, 500s apart. And then we had 5 swimmers under 27. Coming to heat 3 now. Murray Pritchard, Bruce Dixon, Craig McDonald, Lewis McKean, Lewis Bailey, Duncan Young, Ewan Gumbrell, John Law, Andrew Sutherland, Nicholas Milner. And it's lane 4, Lewis Bailey. He's had some good swims today, University of Aberdeen performance swimmer in his first year up in Aberdeen from Dundee. I think he's just about going to hold on. Murray Pritchard running him close, but also, well, a number of swimmers. But it is Lewis, 26.05, takes the win, improves again by over half a second. So some really solid swims here in these 50s. Where it is very much, I suppose, about strength, technique, and not making a mistake, I guess, at any phase of this race starts, swims, finish.
Yeah, and that's pretty hard to do on a 50s, to be able to execute every part to it. Sometimes you can get away with some slight errors as a junior swimmer, but certainly as you get up to the senior ranks, the 50s, they need to be flawless.
So Fraser Kelly, Alex Beveridge, Adam Farquharson, Adam Strickland, Evan Clark, Dylan Cashmore, Jonathan Borland, Mark Innes, Taylor Walters and James Riley, and this time is a fairly clear winner, Adam Strickland in lane 3 from Derwent's side, 25.75, so our first under 26 seconds. Nicely done from Adam, entered 26.48. So good stuff from him. 2 more heats to go. And this one, 25.61 is the time we're looking for. So we were pretty close in that last one. This one we've got Stefan Kravis, Aidan Berry, Henry Oliver, Felix Hale, Max Hagan, Charlie Hughes, Brendan Johnson, Thomas Cannon, Marius Gringelis and Max Upton. And Stefan Kravis up at the top of your screen, the youngster from East Lothian, being challenged by Max Hagan. But it was Stefan, 25.90. So half a second improvement for him. And a superbly successful national age groups, and very, very promising prospect for the future. A youngster from East Lothian, just 13 years old. The challenge, I guess, is when you have these prodigies that are very young, is keeping them going, keeping them motivated, and they are going to go through a dip at some point, and guiding them through that.
Yeah, and it's how you cope with that, because obviously when you're so far ahead like Stefan is in his age group, it's when people start to close that gap and they start to catch you, how do you respond?
Talking about people going out like the blazes. Look at Zach Aitchison go here. Bit of a surprise to see him in the afternoon session, but he's taking full advantage of his lane and comes in, crashing in 23.41 here. So he takes that very comfortably, and just looking at that, that will get him a place in the A final tonight.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's maybe been something else on and he's requested to do the swim this afternoon. I know this time of year, especially with universities and that finishing off, that he's potentially had an exam this morning. And
well, he was swimming here this morning,
was
in
he?
fact. Yes, he was.
So I don't know why that is, but there's some reason why he's in this afternoon anyway.
Yes,
especially with his entry time at 23.6. That would be a morning swim. So there'll be some reason for that, but obviously he's going to have his place in the A final later anyway.
So we stick with 50s and we move to breaststroke now, as we see confirming there, that time from Zach, and all the others scrolling through. So 50 breaststroke is next up for the girls. We've got 8 heats. We seem to have fairly whipped through this afternoon's programme. We've just got 50 breaststroke to go, and then a 1500. That'll slow us down a bit. 4 heats of 1500. I'm not sure whether they're doing the final heat tonight.
Nah, that's the best event in the programme, Duncan.
Of course. I remember you doing
Absolutely.
that back in the day.
Yeah, not just doing that once, of quite a number of times. But yeah, I see it as one of the best events in the programme. Other people will disagree, but that's the beauty of swimming and having the range of events that we do.
So before that though, we've got 50 breaststroke to negotiate. We've got 8 heats for the girls. Line up here: Abby Tyson, Melissa Mainwaring, Ayumi Falls, Katie Mulvey, Remy Muirhead, Ola Lang, Mia Ferguson, Charlie Bridges and Faye Lichtenberg. Looks like it's the City of Glasgow swimmer Remy Muirhead who's just got the advantage in lane 4. Pretty much going as a spearhead on the seedings. Faye Lichtenberg going pretty well though in lane 8, just changes that a bit for 4th place, but it was Remy 38.35 taking it by half a second and comfortably inside her entry time of 39.20.
Yeah, I think the referee's starting to rattle through some of these heats now as well, just because we had that timing issue earlier on as well and the change of pad, so you naturally lose a little bit of time set from the timeline, so that we don't always account for issues like that, so the referee's certainly trying to make it up.
Yep, we're quite happy about that. Amber Wade, Rebecca Saunders, Lucy Steele, Grace Maskell, Gracie Goodhall, Caitlin Rosie, Katie Goldwell, Gianna Ashmoon, Ailey Armstrong and Thanrada McGregor is the lineup here. And you can see Thanrada on the right hand side of your screen here, completely dominating this one from lane 9. So we talked about wins from lane 0. I think this is our first from lane 9, and it's a completely dominant win as well. 36.34 for Thanrada. Well, she did a 36.44 at Aberdeen a couple of weeks ago, so we shouldn't be surprised on that. 39.10 entry time, but that was another little improvement on her Aberdeen swim. So well done, Thanrada, completely dominating that heat with Grace and Gracie 2nd and 3rd. And I guess that's sort of about, we talked about things clicking. We've talked about that a couple of times now, and obviously that's happened for Thanrada in the sprint breaststroke, and that's twice now she's been able to replicate that at different meets.
Yeah, but what I like is that although you've made that drop and something's gone right a few weeks back, you've actually then done it again, so it cements that's then the speed that you're going, rather than going back to it and you wondering why it was maybe just a one-off.
Yep. So Erin Comrie, Emily Fenton, Madison Tuer, Rebecca Black, Rebecca Ivans, Elle Sutherland, Lucia Biva-Segurado, Emma DeVette, Ava Kirkham and Rosie Murison. The line up here, see if anyone can get close to that 36.34. The battle is lanes 1 and 2. Madison Tuer, I think, just ahead of Emily Fenton, and they are 1st and 2nd. 37.57 for the Cockermouth swimmer. Madison takes the win. Emily Fenton just behind her, and Lucia Biva-Segurado taking 3rd. Alicia Segal, Elise Cousins, Kate Gray, Kira Hart, Ailsa Kellis, Amelia Ray, Kira Joyce, Jessica Murray, Ellie Hardy and Sophie Portier. So the entry times here 38.0 to 38.3. Good start from Elise Cousins from Tain up in the north. And she is looking very good here. Elise. And this is going to be a pretty comprehensive win for her. And another very nice time, 37.13. So she improves by over a second on her entry time. Second, Ailsa Kellis just ahead of Kira Hart. Heat 5 next to go. All lined up there, and there is the lineup. Alana Reid, Ava McDermott, Scarlett McDonald, Sarah McNaughton, Imani Barker, Cara Sterling, Amy McLeod, Rebecca Braid, Natalie Riley and Rachel Grant. So coming up towards the halfway markers. Well, I'm not confident enough to call this. Criticise you for wimping out, but I'm wimping out on this one, I think. As we've got 5 swimmers from lane 0 to lane 4. All fairly close. Can anyone make a decisive push in the last few metres? Well, it's between the 2 red caps, I think, and it is Sarah McNaughton, the youngster from Warrender, just 13 years old this year, taking the win in 37.20, so she improves by 6/10 on her entry time. Second, Alana Reid. Third, just 100th back on her, Imani Barker. So Heat 6 gets underway. And we've got Sarah Hill, Amy Bell, Rachel McLeod, Olivia Clark, Katie Brennan, Carla Brawley, Taylor Walker, Holly Lumsden, Lauren Taylor and Robin Gargan. Getting to the low 37s when the swimmers in the centre lanes. In fact, we've got 3 swimmers all on 37.20 entry times. One of them, lane 4, Katie Brennan of Bells Hill, looks to just have the edge here, but not by a lot at all. And she bring it home. The far side swimmers, Sarah Hill and Amy Bell, not far away, but it is Katie Brennan. Takes it in 37.03. By nearly 2/10 on her entry time, so getting close to that 37 marker now. Two heats to go. Time for the juniors in this one, 36.5. So we're not getting that far away from that now. Just half a second in that last heat. Heat 7. Ailey Stewart, Charlotte Nesta, Ellie Forsyth, Emma McPartland, Issy Fear, Victoria Duncan, Jasmine Campbell, Ines Donald, Rachel Beswick and Alicia Green-Shields. Another one that's really close. Charlotte Nesta looking pretty good in lane 1, the Wigan swimmer. She did a 35.4 at the Northwest Regionals not long ago, and she's looking very strong here, and 35.18, so that is excellent stuff for Charlotte, 18-year-old. So in fact that gets her into the B final by 0.05 of a second, so she will get a second swim. We've not seen, other than that, of course, that Zach Aitchison swim, not seen people getting into senior final this afternoon, so very well done, Charlotte. Had a big improvement on her time that she did quite recently at the Northwest Regionals. So nicely done indeed. Of course, that could knock a junior out. That could complicate things in the junior final as well, whether it's a junior or a senior that would be knocked out.
Yeah, it certainly causes its challenges for the officials and those that work on the computers and the recorders to make sure that you're accurate with the results.
This final heat, Sarah Williams, Alice Knight, Lauren McGee, Simpson, Rachel Orkney, Katie Tuller, Joy Drummond, Amy Douglas, Eve Aitchison and Gemma Kirstenberger. So Kempsey, a good swim from lane 0. Sarah Williams from the borough of Stockton. Stockton are having a good day, and this is an excellent swim. The outside lane's going nicely today, because we also saw a great swim from Gemma Gerstenberger in lane 9. So first time we've seen a 1-2 from the outside lanes today. Well done, Sarah and Gemma. 36.24 and 36.77, and that 36.24 from Seren was inside the time required to get in the junior final. We need to see whether that's still what was the case after that good performance from Charlotte Nestor, but looks like she may have made it. Men's 50 breaststroke now. So we've got 4 heats just for the men in the men's 50 breaststroke, and in this one seniors have to do a 30.3 and the juniors 32.8. First heat, we've got Jacob Scott, David Smith, Micah Van Blerk, Matthew Woodall, Elliot Sinclair, Matthew Blair, Martin Gaffney and Ben Smith. Times here in the main 34s with exceptions of the turns are into the 35s. Glasgow swimmer Matthew Blair. That's just has the edge, although not much in it between him and David Smith in lane 2. Oh, and lane 8, very nearly snatching it, but it was Matthew Blair. 33.78 for him. So nearly a second improvement for Matthew, 17-year-old from City of Glasgow. I always sort of feel it slightly surprising when you get to these older swimmers who they get these good PBs. You expect it almost from the youngsters, but when the older ones do it, that's a good sign.
Oh yeah, and it certainly helps keep them in the sport as well, because it just it increases that enjoyment. But sometimes the older swimmers, they just come down and they'll specialise at those 50s and work solely on that speed, and you can work really hard at that to try and bring those times still down no matter what age you get to.
Beatty, Owen Smith, David Kernahan, Sam Harrison, Charles Kelly, Chat Jardine, Arthur Llewellyn, Lewis Condy. And bringing it in was Jack Jardine and Western Bartonshire, 33.65, just a tenth inside the previous heat, and about a third of a second inside his entry time. So again, the improvements coming. Quickly on to heat number 3. Thomas English, Chat Milne, Dominic Anderson, Sam Chittlebrow, Bruce Dixon, Adam Farquharson, Nicholas Milner, Daniel Murray, Ewan Watt, Douglas Calder. The lineup here. All in the mid 33s. Entry times. Some spread. Paper and very little spread. Talk about putting a blanket over them all, Derek, and you certainly can in this one. They're coming down in a line just about, maybe just edging out from it. Well, I was going to say Adam Farquharson, but as soon as I said that, others covered him, and it's lane 8, Ewan Watt coming through to edge it, the West Lothian swimmer, 32.96, so he'll be happy to have broken under 33, entered 33.52, so good sizable improvement for him. Just outside the junior required time. He was a junior, so just missed it by 14 hundredths. Good effort. One more chance in the 50 breaststroke. Jack Iverson, Fraser Cook, Alexi Lindo, Archie Dunn, Tom Ward, Finlay Wallace, James Keane, Patrick Shimmin, Tiela Walters and Stefan Kravis. The line up here. Tom Ward of the Borough of Stockton, once again mentioning them in dispatches. And he has the edge from the swimmers up on the top of your screen, Jack and Fraser. And it is Tom taking it 31.54. So he's comfortably into the final tonight, the junior final, over a second inside the time he required. And 32.30 entry time, take that up to 31.54. What's not to like?
Yeah, and I think that Fraser Cook will also get in that quite comfortably as well, breaking 32-second barrier as well.
So well done to them. We'll be seeing them tonight. Don't forget to tune in to watch them. Now, the highlight of the afternoon, 1500 freestyle coming up.
This is normally, Duncan, the opportunity that most people go and they'll go and take a big long break and so on, but for me there's so much tactics that can be involved in these swims, so much development that can be involved, but taken from that aerobic base that a lot of the young swimmers should have. I'd love to see more of them, more heats put on.
Because we're quite weak in Scotland at the moment on distance swimming. Why do you think that is?
There's a mixture of reasons, to be honest. Obviously in my day job I'm a school teacher, and for me there's been massive changes in the last 10 years on how hard kids want to work, and although they work hard and they do a tremendous amount of work within swimming, especially the amount of times that they're going within a week, there's just that little bit extra required, in my opinion, that makes that break within those distance events, and it can be painful over time in terms of the amount of training required, but there's a certain mentality that you need to be taking on those distance events from a younger age, and I'd like to see us improve in that area, especially in Scotland and across Britain. Obviously we witnessed a terrific 1500 here at the British Championships in April, from Daniel Jervis from Wales, just missing that British record. So you're looking for performances like that are inspiring the younger swimmers to go and take on some of these events that take a lot of time to work and train for, when it would be easier sometimes just to opt for the 50s. But certainly with those gaps there are opportunities to be taken.
Yes, because there was a huge gap, wasn't there, between Daniel and next best, so you do think there that the door is open for an aspiring distance swimmer to come through, both in the men and the women.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've seen that across Britain. Obviously we had Rebecca Adlington winning a couple of Olympic golds back in 2008, but there's not really been anyone that's set that marker down since even Jazz Carlin coming through, but obviously she's now retired from the sport as well. So in the male and the female side, it would be good to see somebody making that breakthrough and taking it on and getting onto the world stage.
So maybe in a few years it could be one of these youngsters. We've got 5 swimmers taking it out here. Lucas Griever first in lane 2. Nathan Campbell of Stirling Swim in 3. Archie Sorensen in lane 4 for Warrender. Then 2 Ren 96 swimmers. Jude Ralston in 6 leading the way, and Ewan Walker beside him, well, not quite beside him, in fact quite a few metres behind him in lane 7. So early days, it's Jude and Archie, followed by Lucas. That's your top 3. So 106 for the first 50, maybe looking for something like a 69 split perhaps for the second. We'll see how that goes through. In fact, it's slower than that, 2:18.24, so 1:12. How would you want to see pacing that for the first 100 with the dive followed into what their pace that they're hoping to maintain through the rest of the race?
Yeah, I naturally look at things where you've got the first 50 naturally being faster when you've got the dive, but that second 50 tends to be, barring depends what you get towards the end of the race, that second fastest 50 of the race. So really the focus for a lot of mass swimmers when they're going in is what are you doing in those third and fourth 50s. If you can apply a little bit of pressure and keep those times very similar in those third and fourth 50s, and you just set the tone and you set the rhythm for what your body settles into, then it makes a huge difference, especially in a 1500, that if you can be half a second faster per 50 and your body's settled in at that half a second faster, then over the course of those 30 50s or the 28 50s that come after it, there's a good between 10 and 14 seconds that can easily be accrued. So there's loads of ways to look at it, but sometimes you need to go out a little bit quicker to make sure you're with people in the race, but sometimes you can afford to go that little bit more relaxed and ease yourself into the race and then work it as you progress through from 400-500 metres onwards.
So Archie Sorensen just easing into the lead now, and is perhaps the one who is perhaps holding that steady pace. The faster start from Jude Ralston not being maintained here. The other thing that sort of gets me is knowing how fast you can go, particularly for swimmers who are developing fast, and obviously they'll have done it in training and they'll have a plan with their coach as to how fast to set it out, but you don't really know that you can sustain it in competition until you've tried, I suppose, and it could go horribly wrong, or you could have left a bit in the tank if you didn't go out quite fast enough. Or you've got to just try and get that magic spot in between.
Yeah, and that's where, as I was saying earlier, it does take a significant type of person to go about these events as well, especially at that top level, because a lot of it you're doing by feel. How good do you feel in the water? How good a catch have you got at the front end of the stroke? Are you maintaining the stroke length to ensure that you're making the most of everything? And just as I'm watching Archie there, what's been quite significant, he's kept a very balanced stroke rate through that first 400 metres, but he's working really hard on his turns, which is really promising to see that actually he's making the most of the walls, so that he can keep that balance to the stroke. And actually the distance that he's took out of Lucas Grieve here within the swimming, there's not been much difference between their swimming, it's just been in Archie's turning so far.
So he's got around about 3 metres of an advantage as they go through the 450 and 522. Advantage of about 1.3 over Lucas Grieve, who's now gone past Jude Ralston, the early leader, who's now in, well, probably in 4th place in fact, as I think Nathan Campbell now has gone into 3rd. So right up at the top of your screen, Lucas Grieve still very much in touch with the leader Archie Sorensen. So we're coming up to 1/3 distance now, about a body length separating, so it was 1.3. We'll just keep an eye on what it is now. It's less than that, it's about 0.8. 5:59.84. So fairly steady pacing for Archie in that sort of 1:13 to 1:14 range.
Yeah, and what's important for Lucas especially is just knowing where Archie is at the moment and chipping away at that by 0.1 of a second each 50 to get back on him, because then what's important is you start to catch up if he's going to then make the move and then kind of reverse that effect and then get ahead. So you want to be able to catch them on the hop, know when your opponent breathes to a particular side. As we see obviously coming down this length, Archie's breathing to his left, which means he's going to see Lucas. So if Lucas is going to make a move at some stage, it would be wise for him to do that on the way up, to try and catch Archie out a little.
Interesting, never really thought about that, I must admit, that just try and catch the other swimmer unawares. Archie got the lead back over a second in that last length. See if he's holding that. I'm not sure he is. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's not. As we go through, in fact, it's down to half a second now. 7:13.08. So again, a steady 1:13 for Archie. So it's not that he's going any slower, it's that Lucas is perhaps just picking up his pace a little bit. You wouldn't count Nathan Campbell out of it just yet either, in the white cap there in 3rd spot. But he won't want that lead to grow much more than the other two have got on him.
And he would need to start by making a wee bit of inroads into that lead in the next 200 metres or so to give himself a chance. As we know, the lead can change pretty quickly, but it can also grow pretty quickly as well. The only way I would like to see Nathan do a wee bit more to get back on is just probably increase the length of his stroke a little. Just a little bit choppy and not getting as much length at the front end as he could get when you compare it to Lucas and Archie that are in front. They look really relaxed at the moment, although Lucas has got a slightly faster stroke rate than Archie.
And the two of them pretty much side by side now as we come up towards 700 metres. So it was half a second last time they were here, but still half a second the gap at the other end of the pool, but now there's precious little in it, less than a tenth, with Archie just edging it still, 8:26.77, so slightly slower. That was about 1:13.7 for him, so he won't want to have his pace drop. He still looks to be holding that lead out of the turn, maybe just rebuilding it a little bit, perhaps realising that he has to do something about it, just pick up the pace again, maybe getting some signal from coach somewhere on the side, and he has got that lead back up to nearly half a second as a result of that. Again now, as you said, Derek, will be able to see exactly where Lucas is as he comes back down the pool.
Yeah, and it'll just be interesting to see what Lucas is planning tactically within this, because Archie just seems that as Lucas is getting back to him, he just puts a little more into the legs and just extends that lead a little more. So if Lucas is going to do something, he'll need to do it on the way up when Archie's breathing to the left and breathing away from Lucas. But again, he's going to need to do something turns wise, because Archie's doing a really good job in his turns still.
So again, we're in the sort of high 113s for that last 100. And again, there's still not a lot to choose between them. Down now to the 850, so we're in the second half of the race now. Just get a shot of the Warrender coach there on the side of the pool. You could just see in the corner of your screen, and that'd certainly be encouraging. Archie Sorensen on his way. It's interesting, when he's not looking at Lucas, he seems to do better. He's back to half a second of a lead, and then when he is looking at him, he watches Lucas coming back at him. So we'll see if that trend continues through this race. Perhaps not what you'd expect.
Yeah, you would expect it to be the opposite way around, but that's also a common thing. And what's quite interesting is you see that in so many younger and developing swimmers, that in one particular direction of the pool, the splits will be, say, half a second faster than going in the other direction. Yet you would think when the stroke rate's similar and the stroke length's similar that it should just be the same. But Lucas looks as if now he's just 0.4 of a second up, as if he's maybe trying to do something now and do it a little bit early. But for me, this is the 50 that he's got to go and do it on as he makes that break on the turn. But
he was suddenly getting the hurry up. You could see there is some of his teammates there on the blue and the far side, and his coaches, there he is, pacing up and down, giving him signals there, and Andrew Addison, of course.
what's quite interesting is Archie's just put a couple of breaths into the right hand side there to see where he is on that length, so he's obviously aware that he's there. But similarly, we see Lucas just taking a small lead there, but Archie just lifted his head twice to see, within the last 10 metres, to see the number cards, to see how many lengths he's got left, and that slows you down significantly.
Yeah, so not a good sign there, and certainly you can see as a result of that, Lucas has now got, well, you wouldn't say clear water, but he's about a body length up, and so Archie has to regroup here now and try and keep in the game. He's a second back, and it's definitely a case that Lucas has upped his pace. So you talked about this being a critical stage for him, and he looks to be taking that to heart here.
Yeah, absolutely, and sometimes you've just got to do it early and you make that break, and although you may suffer for it in the last 2 or 3 50s, you've then got more of a lead that you can draw on, that if it does close the gap slightly, then you're still pushing on to take the win in the heat. This again, for all the different conversations we're having through the heat, goes back to why I love this particular event. The 50s are over so quick that you get very little to commentate on, but there's so much goes through your head when you're swimming these events. So many things to think about throughout it, that it's not just, as people would say, oh, do you just sing a song while you're going through the swim? There's so much to think about. And you can see Lucas is doing a really good job at trying to make that break. And coming in with 400 metres to go, he's probably judging it just about right. Going with 500 to go, probably he's maybe had that chat with Andrew beforehand, and he's maybe broke it into 3 500s. The first 500 just been relaxed and settle into the swim. He was just off Archie, then he's worked back to be on him, and now he's working to try and get away from him. So he's constructing a really nice swim here.
You wouldn't discount Archie just yet, I don't think. He's staying within a couple of seconds of Lucas, and he's still got time to bring that back. I think we could safely say it's going to be between these two now. Nathan Campbell and Jude Ralston pretty close for third place, but not even in your shot here. You should just see them as the leaders turn. There you can see Jude coming into shot now. Looks like he has now got himself back into third, just ahead of Nathan.
Yeah, he's done a good job, Jude, because he had started off probably a little bit excited in that first 100 metres, getting out really quick. But it looks as if his body's settled into a better rhythm again after a few 50s that were slower earlier on in the race.
So there's a race within a race there. But, well, I said Archie Sorensen is still in it, but he's going to have to pick it up pretty quickly if he's to stay in it. There's 300 to go now. 14:31.76 for Lucas, and that gap now is nearly 4 seconds. It almost doubled in that last 100, so well, it's almost last chance saloon now for Archie to try and pull this back, and well, I can't see that happening now. It's Lucas looking very much in charge of this.
Yeah, he is, and actually when you look, Archie's not really upped his stroke rate at all. He's still swimming at the same rate as he was earlier on in the heat, but you do want to be increasing that, especially with only 250 metres to go now.
Clearly, at this stage in the race, your body is screaming out at you now, and perhaps you haven't got quite the same power in your strokes that you had early on. So how do you compensate that and maintain that equal pacing? Do you just have to up your stroke rate, or what is it that you should do?
Again, it comes back to that conditioning and how hard you've worked in training. But on top of that, you can work really hard in training and not have that kind of mental capacity to hang on to it and make your body do things when it really hurts. But it's, again, when you've been past like Archie has, that's when it can be difficult mentally. Where Lucas has had that springboard of, he's been the one who's been hunting Archie down, and then he's closed him down, and then he's moved ahead. So sometimes then you feel less pain than you would normally be at this stage, because you've pushed on, and as you see that lead growing, that can then instill a bit more belief towards the end of the swim.
So now I think Lucas could be confident that he's seen off the Archie Sorensen challenge, but he doesn't want to let off here. It'll be about time now. Entered on 18:18. He'll be looking to take something off that, you would think. That time he did here at the West District pre-snags meet, so what was that, March time? So 2 months on. Looks like he's going to take maybe 10 seconds or so off that.
Yeah, and that's a good chunk to take off in that short time frame. Yeah, 1500 is one of those events that you can take off bigger chunks as you go. But normally that they can come 4, 5, 6 months apart rather than doing obviously that shorter period. It's just, it'll be good to see how much pressure he can put on this last 100 to see where he's going to be between 18:05 and 18:10.
So he was pacing about 1:12 and a half, been pretty consistent on that for the last few hundreds, so certainly you would think he's going to be under the 18:10. The question is how much under. As you said, towards the 18:05. If he can get close to 18:05, then that would be very impressive. Final turn 17:32, so that was around 35 and a half, something like that. So if he can get maybe a 33 for his final 50. That would put him pretty close to 18.05. He's certainly getting the hurry-ups here from his teammates and his coach. Just see their legs there as they walk down along with him. Are you aware of those people on the side shouting and bawling at you?
Certainly. It's if they can get closer to you there, then yeah, it's certainly something that you can that you're definitely aware of. But it depends. People say that you can't hear in the water, but I think it's selective if you can hear and selective when you don't hear. But I'm just loud as a coach anyway.
18.06.60 then was the time, so he did get quite close to that 18.05. A very good swim there from Lucas, really well managed swim as well, and it took about 11.5 seconds off his entry time. So good stuff from him. Archie Sorensen, 18.18 for him. Slower than he was at the Commonwealth Pool recently, so maybe he'd be a bit disappointed with that, perhaps just didn't quite get his tactics right this time. And Jude Ralston was coming up at him at the end and was in the end only 2 and a bit seconds back on him. So 18.20.73 for Jude, entered 18.16, so pretty close to that. So a good first race. It was an interesting race, wasn't it, because they had different tactics going on, and we were able to talk about quite a lot of different elements of distance swimming in that, as illustrated by those guys. We've got a full pool for the second heat, so there should be plenty more to talk about here. 17.39 up to 18.01 is the range of entry time, so 18.06 the time from the first heat. This should be faster than that. And away they go. We've got Durham City's Jonathan Stones going in lane 0. Morpeth Samuel Tate in 1. From East Lothian, Callum Peebles in lane 2. From Heart of Midlothian, Scott Muirden in 3. Lane 4 is Rory Armitt of Winsford. Next to him, Cian McNellis of Inverclyde in lane 5. Then we have Luke Hornsey of East Lothian in 6. Nathan Beardwell of Barnet in 7, Cameron McMaster of Dundee City Aquatics in 8, and Gregor Young of First in lane 9. Well, Jonathan Stones has set off at a pace in lane 0 here.
Yeah, that worries me a little. We've seen Jude do that in the first heat, although he then swam back into it and did a really good job in the second half of the race. But I just think you need an element of control. He might really surprise me in this heat, but I'd probably still like to see a little more control on it at this stage.
103.39 is his split, leads by about 1.6, 1.7 over Rory Armitt in lane 4, and going nicely in lane 9, Gregor Young of First. So the first contingent will no doubt have moved over to the other side of the pool to push on their man Gregor after that swim in the first heat from Lucas. So the lead now down to about 6-7 tenths for Jonathan. So I think your suggestion that he might have gone out a bit fast might be true.
Yeah, I'm just watching the control that Rory Armitt's using in the first 150 there, and although he's got quite a faster stroke rate than we've seen in that first heat, he's just balanced out those 3 and coming into the 450 now that little bit better, and he looks to be catching Jonathan Stones already, which then we would hopefully see Rory then just stay in that rhythm, stay in that stride, and push on a little and maybe extend the lead on this.
So the lead under a second now. We've got 3 challenging for the front here.
Yeah, I know it's not unusual to see lane 4 out in the front, but normally we see that spearhead formation, but we've got 0 and 9 along with lane 4 here, so it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But Gregor Young at the moment in lane 9 looks to be pretty controlled as well with Rory. It just depends where Jonathan Stones is at and how long he can sustain that for.
So Rory Armitt just hitting the lead there at that turn. Was 8th in the Northwest Regionals. Didn't match his entry time there. Entry time 17:39, so he'll be looking to see if he can improve on that. Still, Jonathan Stones is hanging in there up at the top of the pool.
But at 300 metres, he just looks as if he's just working that little bit too hard at the moment. But again, as I've said, your body can settle into that rhythm, that timing. So it might then suit him to be swimming at that speed. Again, when it's interesting for us because a lot of the Scottish swimmers that we see on a regular basis, so we know how they swim, and we know what their strokes look like and so on. So when we see Rory coming up and Jonathan coming up to Scotland, we're not always used to seeing them race and compete. So this could be normal stroking for them. So it's trying to strike that balance when you're commentating on swimmers that you don't see on a regular basis.
But it is great to have these swimmers coming up from England to join us here, because as well as the Danes and the Greeks and the Irish that are here in numbers this weekend in Glasgow, so a warm welcome to you all. And if you're watching us from the north of England, we hope you're enjoying the coverage. We're certainly enjoying Rory Armitt's swim here, and he's now got the clear lead, 4:38.02. And Jonathan Stone's half a second up on Gregor Young. So we've got a fair way back to 4th place. That's Nathan Beardwell in lane 7, the Barnet swimmer, and then a bit of a gap to Cian McNellis and the rest of the field, all very close.
Yeah, and I'm just roughly working out Rory's splits as he goes, and he's been pretty accurate from that kind of 150 mark onwards on each 50, around about a 35.5, 35.6 zone. But the others then just seem to be going that little bit slower. So it's just about maintaining that pace and staying in it, that we can then bring that final time down by a bigger chunk if you can be more consistent.
So we'll see whether he can break the spirit of the two in the outside lanes, Jonathan and Gregor, as this race progresses. This is 500 metres, and he is gradually building that lead. 5:49.83, so pacing just under 1:12. So those 36s you were talking about. 5:51 and 5:52 respectively for Jonathan and Gregor. So about a couple of seconds gap now between first and the second, third contest. See the Durham coach there pushing on his man, giving him the encouragements. So is this now very much Rory's race? Still just a bit over 2 seconds the gap, but can you see either of them coming back at him? It's not even halfway yet, so
yeah, it's probably early to call that, but I'm looking more at the kind of entry time of Rory at 17:39, and he's probably going to be there or thereabouts at the moment based on the pacing that he's at. So it just depends how the next 200 or 300 metres develops to see whether he can then just push that on a little. He'll need to get into the kind of 111 lows, 110 highs to try and just make sure he can put pressure on that. So it's, and again, that's why we're probably up trying to just improve slightly in those times within those rankings.
Just watching Nathan Beardwell, who's just outside your shot at the moment, but he is plugging away here on his own in 4th place. You can see him on the right hand side of your screen now, and he could come back and certainly figure for 2nd or 3rd, you would think, as this race progresses.
Almost definitely, and actually it's only really in that last 150 metres that he started to just get himself going. We've still got another 100 metres before we're even at halfway, so certainly if he can keep going at that level and he's just maybe chipping away at it 50 by 50, he could certainly get on Gregor and Jonathan on the outside lanes.
Jonathan Stones is certainly hanging in there, trying to keep in touch with Rory Armett. Let's see what the gap is here at 700 metres. Rory is going to go through 8:14.08, so he's still pacing around 1:12.5. Pretty steady at that. There's still less than 3 seconds between him and Jonathan, and then about a second to Gregor. So there's not big changes going on in the gaps between them, but just subtly Rory is building that lead. You said earlier that suddenly you can get a dramatic change in fortunes. That's not happening so far, but we'll keep an eye. That's the halfway turn. 8:50. So he's now got the lead over 3 seconds, over 3.5 seconds in fact, and it's Gregor Young from Jonathan Stone now. So it looks, well, there's very little between those two.
Certainly if Jonathan can hang in, he's going to improve in his entry time, just based on being through there at, what that was, that 8:53 I think it was, 8:54 at halfway, so that might take him into that 17:50 zone. He's entered at 18:01. It's going to be tough from here on in for Rory to improve on that 17:39. He's just dropped out a little, but certainly for Gregor and Jonathan, both on 18:01 as an entry time, they've got an opportunity there if they can just continue to keep plugging away at what they're doing, 50 by 50, to get in inside their entry time.
So if Rory does drop his pace a bit, does that open the door a little bit for the other two?
Yeah, and it can instill a little belief that you go, right, well, I was 5 metres behind, now I'm 4.5 metres behind, and that can then spur you on a little, and you can find that second wind as you go through. And again, you're not going to go and change 5 metres within 150, but you might get half a metre across the next 10 50s and put yourself in a zone that you can have a sprint finish. And it's certainly easier as you get back onto someone to try and get ahead of them, and it's much harder for the person in front that's been chased.
So at 900, Rory 10:38.76. He's actually bring the time back again. That was back to just into the 1:12, so he was briefly at a 1:14, so that's good for him. Just maybe steady the ship. 10:43 for Jonathan, so that lead is continuing to build. So it does look like Rory is now regrouped, and I suppose it's easy. It just takes a little bit of loss of concentration across 18 minutes of swimming, and you might just drop pace a little bit and then suddenly realise, whoops, better pick it up again.
Yeah, and it's really easy that if on 2 of those 50s, say, and on 2 of the 100s in a row, that you lift your head to look at the cards, the number counters, to see how many lengths you've got to go, and you can easily lose a whole second. And if you've only got a 3 second or 4 second advantage, then that's opening the door, as you say, in terms of giving someone else an opportunity. Rory again, though, I know you said he picked up the last 100, but it looks as if he's maybe just picked up a little again. We'll get the splits in a second. So yeah, he's just picked up a fraction again, because he just seems to have increased that lead. It's just at about 6.5, 7 seconds now over Jonathan Stones.
Yes, that last 100 pretty much bang on 1:12, so about half a second faster than he has been going at. We mentioned Nathan Beardwell a while ago. He's not in your picture at the moment, but I can tell you he's not that far behind Gregor Young now.
Yeah, since he's brought it back to around about that 4.5, 5 metres behind, it stayed very similar for the last 300 or 400 metres. And if he wants to close that gap, he'll need to do something in the next 2 or 3 50s to give himself a shot.
So just looking at the gap, Gregory on 12:33, Jonathan 12:34, and Nathan 12:37 at that last turn. So he's got himself within 3 seconds or so of Jonathan, who's now in third behind Gregor. But we're focusing on the leader here. So stroke for a distance swimmer from Rory here. What are you seeing? What are you liking?
I'm liking that he's got a similar tempo to his stroke to what he's had throughout the whole heat so far. He breathes to both sides, so then he's obviously very tactically aware of what's going on around him. But he's just letting those legs flow at the moment, and it's how much can he start to bring those legs in, say in the last 350, 300 metres or so. If anything, we probably just want a little more length and a little more placement and better catch at the front of the stroke. And certainly if we can have a lot more focus. I've now counted 6 times that he's looked at those number counters through this swim, which if you take that, say 0.3, 0.4 of a second, there's the best part of 2.5 seconds that you're losing just on lack of concentration, lack of focus on the numbers.
So would you normally expect the swimmer not to need to look at the lap counter? He should have it in his head.
Yeah, some swimmers just forget, but I think the most switched on, the best distance swimmers just tend to not need them, and you just know where you're at, or you're just always counting because you're thinking of the tactics of what have you got to do at certain stages in the race, so you're always aware of where you're at. Especially in the long course pool, it's less onerous on the swimmer to count, because you can count it per 100 rather than count it per 50 and per double length and so on. So I would expect the swimmers to, even if you do lift your head once because you've lost count, and you want to be able to maintain that then throughout the rest of the race rather than lifting it over and over again. But if you do need to lift it, try and leave it a few hundred metres before you lift it, because that time can cost you massive. Obviously it's not affecting Rory massively within this heat, but that could affect the final time, to be able to, whether you're close to that 17:39, I think he's going to be a wee bit outside it here, but certainly if you're heading towards those, it can slow down some of your 50s and slow down that rhythm that you've been setting.
So 200 to go now. Rory 15:27.10. So again, pretty much bang on a 1:12. That has been his pace for the last few hundred now.
And I'm just watching Nathan Beardwell coming back on the two outside boys again, but I just wonder if he's just left it a fraction too late now with 200 metres to go. He's chipped away at it, but Gregor Young's turns look to be that bit better than what Nathan's are, and he's just extending that lead each time. But it just depends how much, if Nathan is aware of both Gregor just on the outside of him in lane 9, but also on Jonathan in lane 0.
Well, he's pretty much up with Jonathan now, it looks like, in lane 0, so let's just see as they go through. 16:15 for Jonathan, 16:69, so about 1.7 the gap between them with 150 to go. So you think you could certainly have a chance to overhaul that. As you said, Gregor Young perhaps just a little bit further ahead of him and maybe he's just struggling. But let's focus on the leader now as he takes the bell, Rory Armit. So 1:12 would be 16:39. He's half a second inside that, 16:38.59. So he has upped his pace a little bit. But if he finishes on a 1:10, maybe something like that, that would be about a 17:48 against his 17:39 entry time. So as you said quite early on, he's not quite on his entry time pace, but it's a pretty solid swim nonetheless. He has gradually built his lead through this race, and now it is completely unassailable. Turns for home in 17:13. Race for second, you can see still going on as we pass them, as we follow Rory Armit down his final length. See the other swimmers coming back up the pool, so a long way clear of them. And into the last 10 metres, Rory Armit is going to bring this home. The clock just in the low 1740s. As we come up, it's going to be just under 1750, 17:47.84, so finished on sub 1:10. It is going to be Gregor Young coming in for second. His entry time 18:01, and he nicks under the 18 minutes, so that's a nice milestone to go through. And then Jonathan Stones did hold off the Beardwell Challenge, 18:02.64, so just outside his entry time in the end. Nathan Beardwell, 18:05.22.
And it's certainly quite nice there for Gregor, just a fraction under the 18 minutes. That certainly makes a difference when you look at that overall time. Just to be inside just makes a difference in your brain.
So our final swimmer, Cameron McMaster, completing Heat 2. You'll probably want to not think too much about this swim. Move on to the next time. And there is confirmation of that result. Rory Armitt taking the heat in 17:47.84. As we go to Heat 3 now, the final heat will be swum tonight. So this is our last piece of action in the afternoon session. All 10 swimmers are there. The lineup is James Kay from Barnet Copthall in 0, Alex Thompson of Warrender in 1, Struan Kingdom of Wren 96 in 2, Ben Gilchrist of Durham City in 3, Henry Oliver of Winsford in 4, Joseph Robbins of Durham City in 5, Adam Strickland of Derwent in 6, Ian Campbell of Stirling Swimming in 7, Ewan Houston of Wren 96 in 8, and Struan Bennett of Kinross in lane 9. So there's going to be more exercise up and down the pool for the Durham coach here. He was putting in the meters in the last heat, and he's got 2 swimmers going in this heat. You are walking up and down, man, when you're coaching a distanced swimmer?
Not particularly. You do want to give them encouragement and move them on when you need to. But certainly within that first part of the race, you've just got to let the swimmer settle in and actually apply the tactics that you've discussed before you go into the swim.
103.29, not a lot in it early on here. Certainly not got somebody shooting off like we saw in the previous heat, and that's probably a good sign here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Controlled.
It's setting up a nicer heat here, especially with those 4, 5, 6 guys and going across the start of this heat, that you look and you say that they've went out with the right level of control to be able to then go and push on further through the race.
So they were just a tad faster at the 100 than the second heat. Henry Oliver in lane 4 with Ben Gilchrist beside him. The narrow leads, Winsford and Durham respectively. Also up there in lane 2, Struan Kingdom of Wren 96. So they're our leading 3 at 200. Not too much to choose between them, just 3/10, in fact less than that. 2:12.56. So that's interesting, because in the second heat we went from a 63 to a 72. This time we've gone 63 to 69.
Yeah, and that's just the element of control I was talking about, even when we were looking in Heat 1. And then it's applying the pressure to those 3rd and 4th 50s that then brings those splits down, and that's just a learning curve for a lot of swimmers, that you don't want to go out too fast, but you want to be able to set a good rhythm that's not too far away from those early 50s to then bring the overall total time down.
So it is one from the northeast of England, one from the northwest, and one from the west of Scotland. 3 swimmers here. Joseph Robbins of Durham as well in the mix in lane 5. So we've got 4 around about 3 metres apart at 300, 3:20.65. So that's 68 that time, so a bit faster than the second 100.
And that's good. It's just starting to settle into that 68 zone, where if you're entered at 17:01 or just slower than that, between 17:01 17:10, you're in that 108s per 100 zone. So if you can start to set that early and you're in a race like we've got here, then hopefully as we hit halfway and beyond, then they can start to just chip away at the 108s if we can continue at that, and maybe bring it into the 107s and put a bit of pressure on 17 minutes as a total time.
I could imagine that some of these swimmers will be thinking, why won't the others just go away? Why can't I get a bit of open water? Perhaps particularly for Ben here in lane 3 is leading, but he's seeing them still hanging on very much with him. And does that get to you after a while if that lead stays very much the same and you're not building it up?
Not particular. Depends what you're looking for. It can be frustrating if you know that one of your opponents who's sticking to you has got a far faster sprint finish than you'll have. But if you know that you've got that in your locker, then it can sometimes be quite handy, and it'll be a good thing in your head that you know you've got more, because ultimately you don't know how hard they're working to stay with you. You've got to swim it within yourself and know how you're feeling, because sometimes, although it can feel hard, you've just got to stick with it and try and stick with the pace, and trust that your body will settle into that slightly faster pace, and be with it. But I don't tend to worry too much at this stage. Obviously we're coming up to 500 metres now, and that's when some of that tactics will be starting to play out, where you see like Joseph Robbins in lane 5 there. He's been pretty consistent from 53 onwards, and he's just closed that gap down, and just chipping away at it. So it'll be interesting to see how he pushes on, just as we hit 500 metres, and whether others respond and go with him.
5:39.91. He leads now for the first time, about 2/10 up on his Durham teammate, because these two will know every nuance of each other's swims. I can tell you they both competed in the Northumberland and Durham championships, and it was Joseph who came up on top between the two of them, 5th versus 8th in those championships in the Sunderland pool. 6:13.62, and he's starting now to just really put the squeezes on the other three, and having sat in 4th place in the early stages, he's looking pretty strong now.
Yeah, he's doing it really nicely at the moment, and it's just about now maintaining that pressure. It doesn't seem that any of the other 3 boys have responded at this stage, so if Joseph can just keep applying the pressure that he's doing, then we should see this gap increase.
So at 600 metres he's got it up to about 2.5 metres, 6:48.26, so he's got the pace very much coming down there. That was just over 68.
And actually, when you look at the entry times, the time that Joseph's just put in there for that last 100, that shouldn't be overly difficult for the other 3 boys to go with him. But again, we don't know how they're feeling within the pool here today. But Joseph's certainly putting in a really good last couple of 100 metres to get back on them and then make that break at the moment.
So I guess for these English guys, they've had their regional championships in the last few weeks, and they'll probably put their efforts in terms of posting the big time in the window into those events, and this, I guess, is almost a bonus event for them to try and improve it if they can, and maybe to work on things for ahead of the summer meets.
Yeah, it will be. Yes, obviously we have the National Age Group Championships probably as the equivalent to the regional championships that are down south. So yeah, that's where we try and post most of our times early in the window, and then try and top them up. So these guys obviously have only done it in the last 2 or 3 weeks, setting those times. So it's hard to replicate if that's where they've done those times. But certainly you can then change tactically a little to try and bring it down, try and do something a little bit different. And if it works, then great, it brings the time down a little. And if it doesn't, then they've probably set something good already within those regional heats, the regional qualifiers, to to set a positive time to be in that top 18 for the Summer Championships.
And it's Joseph Robbins now, pretty much clear water over his teammate Ben. In fact, Stuart Kingdom, I should say, is in second place now. Ben has just faded somewhat in lane 3. So it's the Wren swimmer who is in second place, but he's 3-4 metres back. 9:06.32. So pace maybe just dropping a little bit there. That was about a 69.3, so wouldn't want that to continue, I would guess. He would want to try and keep it in the 68 range.
Yeah, it's just been the last 2 or 3 50s have just been that slightly bit slower, and as you can see there, Joseph's just lifted his head there to look to see on the number, and that can just break your tempo and break your rhythm of the stroke. But from watching Struan, he's just increased his stroke rate a little. That's made the break from Henry and Ben in lanes 4 and 3. So, but it'll be interesting to see if he can actually try and pick that up a little more and get himself back on Joseph Robbins if Joseph continues to just drop out slightly.
So Struan, silver medalist in West Districts here early in the year. That was, of course, before the window. I'm not sure what his window time will have been, but he'll be looking to try and work this lead down. It's a lead of about 3.6 at the moment. 10:16.32 plays 10:19.93. They're pacing about 22 seconds faster at the moment than previous heat, so 900 of the 1500 completed. So the entry times: Joseph 17:04, Struan 17:17. Still not far behind Struan is Henry Oliver, about 2 seconds between those two. And then it's lane 6, Adam Strickland. We've not mentioned him in dispatches yet, but he's now moved past Ben Gilchrist into 4th place, just outside your shot there, just coming into shot there in the white cap. Through 1,000 metres, 11:26.59, and this pace is dropping off a bit worryingly now. That was over a 1:10.
And you can actually see that just in Joseph's stroke. It's just become a little splashy at the front end, and he's using his legs a lot more. But actually that's just counterbalancing the stroke at the front end. So it'd be better, rather than trying to use his legs a bit more, he's probably just needing to focus a wee bit more on that technique at the front end of the stroke, just to tidy it up a little to try and maintain that pace.
12:01.89. It'd be unlikely you would think that he's going to be caught now. He's got about a 4.5 second margin.
Yeah, it'll be tough for Struan to get back on him. I'm pretty confident that Joseph's going to win the heat. But it's probably just been a little up and down. He was really controlled at the start of the race and put pressure at the right time. But he's just allowed himself to drop out a little too easy. Just again, a 1500 is really important, that you've got to hang on to that technique throughout, to be able to maintain that pace as your body starts to break down a little as you go through the swim.
And we are now fairly consistently in that 1:10 and change pacing. That's the second 100 we've been at that pace for Joseph, but it's Struan not been able to take advantage, so it's still a comfortable lead. So I suspect Struan's pace has maybe dropped as well.
Yeah, it's just dropped slightly, as you say. Just a slight increase on the lead from Joseph as well, which obviously we know he's been dropping a little, so that would suggest that Struan's dropping ever so slightly. But we're probably looking around that 17-15 marker, 17-18 as a final time, which might not look great in comparison to the entry time, but again, if he's only done it a few weeks ago at regionals, we don't know the makeup of the heat that day in the race and how it's gone. We don't know what he's done to go back into training. Is he in that next phase, because he'll already be in the summer championships? But we just need to watch them finish this off. But Joseph looks as if he's working really hard, but actually some of that then just doesn't pay off for him with his stroke technique. But certainly we can't fault the effort of any of these boys that are in it.
So 2:50 to go. 5 lengths of the pool, 14:23. So he's been about 4.5 seconds. It has come down a bit, so it's about 3.5 seconds now. So is there going to be a sting under the tail if Struan's taken a second out of it? Has he got something left to really claw it back?
I think he would need to be within about 2 seconds at 150 metres to go, because it just gives you that little bit of impetus to really chase it down. But certainly Struan's made a good go at this 50 here again, just to try and bring it down a little more. We're down to about 3 metres there just as Joseph turns. So yeah, that's just about 2.5 seconds now. So if Struan can put enough pressure on this 50 and then get right up next to him, next to Joseph on the next 50, then certainly it could be setting us up for a pretty close contest in the last 100.
Yes, Joseph dropped to 111 and a bit in that last 100, so he's obviously feeling it here. And Struan by now must be really sensing that he is closing this gap. So what it is now, 15:34, plays 15:36, so just over 2 seconds. So another half second knocked off it. And now he's just about within a body length, and he, I think, may just fancy his chances now to claw this back. He hasn't got huge amounts of time to do it, so and of course you don't know what sort of sprint Joseph will have up his sleeve here in the final part of this race. He's going to go through the bell turn with around maybe a 2.5 metre lead. 16:09, plays 16:11, the gap down to 1.6 now.
Again, this will just be interesting because it's all down to how close Struan can get by the end of this 50, because if it's too much, then I'm sure Joseph will be able to respond and see what's going on and put in just enough to be able to secure the heat. But Struan certainly is having a good go at him.
So coming up to the final turn, and it does look as though Joseph has found maybe a little bit of extra pace and is holding that gap. In fact, he's got it to 1.8 now, so he picked up another 0.2. So is he going to be able to hold it down this final length? One last push from the Wren swimmer. Struan Kingdom is pushing really hard down this last length to claw this one back. Surely Joseph Robbins is not going to lose at this stage. 50 metres to go, and there's now only a metre or so in it as they come down towards the stretch. But Joseph Robbins has enough in hand. It's been a brave effort from Struan, but Joseph holds on to take it. 17:17:30 for him. Struan Kingdom 17:18:22. So good racing there. And Joseph had to really dig in that final 100 to see off the challenge, but fair play to the Durham man. He put in the effort and he got there by a second to be the fastest going into the final heat that will be swum tonight. So just a little bit too much to ask for from Struan there, but he really gave it a go.
Yeah, he probably just had to just get that fraction more out of the few 50s before it, because as you say, then Joseph's got that opportunity to respond if you don't get close enough.
So really exciting final way to finish off what's been a fun second session here this afternoon. We'll be wrapping it up here from Tollcross for session 2 of the Glasgow International Swim Meet. I'm Duncan McKinnell, and I've been joined this session Derek McGowan. Derek, it's been a pleasure having you in the commentary box here.
Thanks, Duncan.
And we look forward to see you very soon for session 3. Don't go away too far because we want you back. Goodbye for now.